Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today with episode 131 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me, the LoneVaultWanderer.
It's me, Karak with ACG.
I'm going to apologize in advance because I know I'm going to sound stuffy and all clogged every now and then. And the reason I'm going to do that is because anytime I don't say something about it in a video, Maddie, what's wrong? Are you okay? You sound sad, man.
Are you sad, Maddie?
Yeah, always. They're like, are you sad, Maddie? Are you depressed? I'm like, I'm good, guys. I just have a little bit of allergy. So I want to let everyone know that in advance if I get clogged up towards the end of this because I'm going to be talking a lot. As per usual, we'll have links in the description for iTunes, Google Play, so if you want to listen on the go. And also, if you want to support the channel, Patreon will be linked down below. Thank you for considering that. We've had a lot of patron guests on for the past couple of weeks, and now we want to just have a nice cast with the squad here, just us three. So let's get into it with some interesting news on the best-selling console game of 2017, and it's none other than Destiny 2.
That's great. That's a lot of copies, man.
Yeah. And think of how quick that
I genuinely
happened.
thought it wasn't doing that well, because usually when I see it in the
So did
charts,
I.
it's like,
This is news.
It's like mid-top 10, usually. But apparently it is.
Someone beat GTA 5. I mean,
Well, on its like 5th year of release
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
yeah, but I'm just more so fascinated. This game's been out for like a month and a half, and it already skyrocketed past any other game this year.
Yeah. Look, like, in the end, it doesn't truly surprise me. It has its audience. I don't happen to be part of that audience, but I can see the appeal to it. I mean, especially for people that just want to buy a game that has hundreds upon hundreds of hours in gameplay and play with their friends. Like, my older brother loves playing Destiny because, like, you know, he'll come home from work, play with a bunch of mates, and he can do that every night. So I get the appeal to it, even though it's not like the most, like, not the most super intriguing narrative or story or innovative gameplay, but it has its purpose.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I treat a sports game personally. That's the funny
Yeah.
part. Like, if last night's a great example. I had my hockey game. I came home. It was about 11:30 at night. I was pretty beat, but like, yeah, I kind of wanted to just coast unwind, coast into the rest of the night and fall asleep eventually. But I was like, I'll play NHL for a little bit. You know, I don't want to play a story game. I have too little time to play it.
Absolutely,
Even though
yeah.
NHL 18 fucking blows. That game's awful, dude. They need some competition. That game sucks, but like I said, it's that type of game for me.
What about you, Karak?
I'm completely flummoxed that it's the number one. So here's what I think. We aren't seeing it number one in a lot of lists, so I'm assuming it had a shit ton of pre-orders too, because pre-orders would be counted. And it did. I remember them announcing that like its pre-orders were insane. So there's a good like bubble there. But does it indicate that game sales are doing worse as a whole as well? I mean, that's you know, if GTA 5 was still selling, if it's taking a spot, that already indicates.
But
there's a
GTA
problem.
5, that's an
No,
outlier.
I mean, right, but I'm saying we've indicated a problem. If that is, I've always thought that still being in the sales is a problem, like indicates something weird going on with the industry already. So I'm just saying maybe those two things, because I mean, have other games really lit the fire of anybody? Destiny lights a fire even. I mean, just because of it's massive. Like, even if it's not the greatest game in the world. What are some of the other ones that sold? Like, was there a listing? If that's number one.
No,
But,
it
like,
just
number
said
two
that.
is
I can
probably
actually
GTA.
I mean,
pull
we're
up a
also just
similar one.
talking strictly consoles for what that's worth.
Yeah, we're not even considering PC sales, are we?
Yeah, I mean, it did just come out on PC, though. So,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'll pull up the sales list. Okay, so this
I will
weekend,
say I
actually,
liked
you know what? Actually, this is big. So, Assassin's Creed Origins is at the top in Australia. That's no surprise. Super Mario's number 2. That's no surprise. Destiny's 3 and it beat out Wolfenstein 2. I think that's big because Wolfenstein 2 is pretty new, and then it goes down there. GTA is still number 10. It's still in the top 10 somehow. It's crazy, but yeah, it seems to be doing pretty well. And mind you, those exclude both digital, and it's just. I think there's some PC numbers in there, but PC retail is crappy anyways. There's barely any numbers. But yeah, no, it's doing well, and it honestly doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me either. I hope that Wolfenstein 2, now that you brought that up, I hope that does sell well. Because
What if it doesn't? Genuine question. What if it doesn't? Because we just had this whole shebang. Because I don't think Evil Within 2 is doing well. No, and we just had this whole thing about single player. Is it dying? And it was overblown. But
Wolfenstein has 2 or 3 real problems too. Technically, it's got issues on the PC for many people. I didn't have. That was one of the slickest. But this is the problem with bugs, right? Like you'll experience a bug and I won't. We'll talk about this later with Call of Duty. So it's like somebody may experience a ton. But I also think that it did have a couple issues. The other is the fact that right now there's this odd dichotomy of people's like purchasing decisions that are also involved in a bunch of social stigma. And I saw a ton of people saying, I'm not going to buy Wolfenstein because it's supporting some, and I don't even know the different acronyms. But then listen to this. I'm not going to buy it because it's not supporting blah, blah. And so I'm like, whoa, 2 groups, if they're at opposite ends, then that is, and it is a contingent of people who won't get it because there's a belief that like, I'm going to make you pay for doing this or that. Additionally, getting really tired of the fucking censorship, removing Hitler's mustache in some places and
that's Germany.
God,
Germany.
I know, but it needs. What the fuck, man?
Like I know, like Germany is a different kettle of fish. Like they,
absolutely.
I'm not saying I understand and I agree with the decision, but I couldn't possibly in their government with their history. Imagine trying to make that decision. Like I'm not
gonna be tough. I've thought of that before.
My thing is, if we all sat together and said, "Let's remove his face hair," what the fuck? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and not just that. Obviously, they removed the Nazi symbols too in the game.
Yeah, but I'm talking about his face hair, like the Nazi symbols, whatever. I still don't agree with that. I think you should.
Is the Nazi symbol
it's kind of just?
Is that just in what's it called, multiplayer? Or I mean, sorry, just in Germany, or is that all across multiplayer?
I think it's actually just a good question.
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm pretty sure. I remember reading.
It's not censored at all in the U.S. So that means in multiplayer or in there's no multiplayer. Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
In COD World War II?
Oh no, I'm talking about Wolfenstein. Brother.
Jesus. Okay, you guys lost me there.
All right, we're continuing. Just Wolfenstein.
Yeah. That's right. So Wolfenstein. Here's the thing. I mean, you had the removal of the symbol. But I'd argue that anyone playing that in Germany probably knows what that means. Yeah, so equivalent, like the same is if you remove the mustache off of Hitler, everyone still knows it's Hitler. Like it's quite obvious, especially when he's doing the hand. Well, I don't even know if they do the hand gestures either.
I don't
so
know.
They could have. I think that they would have done a lot of censorship for that. And again, that's just the nature of the beast in that country.
What I was gonna say, what I was gonna say, the point I was talking about was with removal of certain historical material, good or bad, in video games. Because I thought originally you were talking about COD World War II. Because I do remember.
You're right. That is another.
They did remove that from the multiplayer aspect, and for me, it was less of like, some like Call of Duty. A lot of new people coming in are younger kids. And that might be their first exposure to the symbol. It's like, I don't know if we should be burying history like that.
Hey, here's the flip side. Do you think that that's a good first exposure to the symbol?
Well, yes, it's a symbol of hate. You need to know.
Absolutely.
People believing
in a game that's meant to be about entertainment, is that the right context for a young child that has no idea what the
Here's the thing. You can't sell your game on the realism of World War II and have a reviewer state that it honors our heroes, blah, blah, blah. No, but they say that. If they say it, then you can't fucking just pick and choose.
Kind of, but it's still kind of with like the allure that it's still a video game and it's still entertainment, and you still have loot boxes that drop onto Normandy Beach. Like, you know what I mean? It's not quite the same.
Absolutely, and I agree. Like, it's probably not the best first exposure, but I just feel like history-wise,
exactly. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we just gonna neuter? And remove everything horrible that happens.
That's the thing. Like, and I'm not saying that should be the case in like every other country, but I'm not going to comment on Germany because
I'm not either, Mike. Because I don't. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Germany. No, I'm just saying generally speaking.
Generally, no, no. Generally, I'm against like censorship.
Except the mic. I don't care. The mustache wrong. I want it to be DLC at least, and have it be like Frenchie. The the swirly mustache? No.
I mean, you guys got to remember. I mean, I'm in a country where the last South Park and Saints Row, they've all been banned for various reasons, and content has been cut. I don't like that. It's really crappy. Like when you're playing South Park and then you see a crying koala, that is a bit of scene that you can't actually play here. That's just lame.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It sucks, man. So Destiny 2, best-selling console game. Yeah, I love just returning to the subject and seeing how far off we just got.
Well, we didn't get far off because remember, Destiny 2 had a symbol removed. Remember the arm patch? So we swirl all the way back around. There's always something in our subconscious.
We just got to connect it.
Got to connect the dots.
I want to say as well, isn't it amazing that Super Mario is at number 2? It's the fastest selling Mario game in Europe, in the US, and in Australia. It's insane, doing insanely good.
It's surprising to me. I thought it was going to be 1, but that's the only thing that surprised me.
Yeah, I guess I understand that because Switch still doesn't have like that many consoles out there compared to PC and consoles and stuff. But yeah, I've been playing a shit ton of it. It's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to jump into that. I'm close to it, but then I got, I'm sure Karak did too. Then offered to review another title, and I was just like, And we're getting really early access to it.
Yeah,
like about a week.
I will say, I mean,
the DLC for
no full game.
What are we talking about?
Twitter message. I got to see which one we're talking about because I have 6. Sitting in a review queue. I'm not going to get to all of them. Okay. But they're a big.
I got you.
Oh, I just read my own message to you guys, and it says ME2, and I'm on Mass Effect 2. What the fuck is Maddie talking about? It was actually me. That was awesome. I was like, no, you fucking dick. I don't get that. I'm emailing them right now from those people.
You don't have that. That's great.
I'll return the favor because you set me up with someone this week. I'll set you up now.
Is it the same company that we normally deal with?
Yes.
Fucking dicks! What did I do to them? Oh no! I know who that. I already know why I didn't. Yes, if you could, I would love. Was it a person who starts with M?
Yes.
I have a feeling I won't be getting that company's games ever again.
Oh no.
Yeah, I haven't now after a certain thing I said in a couple reviews and I did 1 or 2 videos on the side. We'll quit talking in code. I apologize, everybody.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's no problem. I started the code, if anything. Next topic is Bethesda. They are planning on reworking Creation Club for larger content. This is a post that was on the Bethesda.net forums. Cartography, which is the community manager there, who does a lot of answering the questions, especially when it comes to Creation Club. He said that they're not going to be doing, or they're not planning right now to do anything on the size of a Far Harbor or a Dragonborn because it requires veteran, comprehensive efforts from tons of people. And right now, actually, they're saying they don't have a very big group of creators for the Creation Club, and the reason for that is because they want to slowly integrate people in, but right now they're trying to make it so that bigger content down the line can come to this platform. So that sounds like a positive change in its own right. There was also a couple of other things technically changing, like file types and all this stuff, because what was happening is certain mods like Frostfall and I think Campfire were breaking because of certain Creation Club mods. So there's been a lot of conflictions with this system, so they're working on that too. Why this information isn't public, like in a post from Bethesda saying, hey, here's what we're bringing to Creation Club to bring some people's minds to ease, I have no idea why not, but regardless.
Do you know why I think that is? Is because they're not really announcing much. They're saying, we're going to have something down the line, and I don't think that's really anything to sell a service off of. Especially one that they're trying to actually...
I guess it shows panic, right?
Sell products. And look, I'd agree with you if this was like, we're bringing the next big, content to Creation Club, and it's going to be something that's like Automatron or whatever. Okay. Like, I'd be surprised if that was localized in a forum post. But yeah, this doesn't surprise me either.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from the sounds of it, then they're probably going to be doing like weapon packs rather than a solo weapon or quest
Just what
packs.
I said, like they should do themed weapon packs. I mean, and some people still aren't going to buy that, and I get that because again, free mods are out there, they do the same thing, or if not better. But if it's like a couple of bucks, get the I don't know, pixel weapon pack, and you get a bunch of weapons that are shaped like pixels. Just fucking off the top of my head, cool. That would be cool. It's not one weapon. But it's a bunch of them, and it's like you can have a machine gun, you can have a rocket launcher, laser rifle, whatever, you know.
One common thing we're seeing with Creation Club is that like they'll drop new content, and then someone who's a modder will go and make a free version for everyone else, and then it'll get a ton of endorsements. And Bethesda can't take it down, or rather, not they can't, but Bethesda won't take it down.
They choose not to.
Yeah, they choose not to. It's so funny to watch. Someone did it with Ruin's Edge. Knights of the Nine armor, like they've been doing it with all this different Skyrim Creation Club content, and I love it because it's forcing Bethesda to innovate at least, or at least hopefully they will. Karak, what do you think of these changes?
The thing is, and Lone reminded me in one of the last podcasts, and so now I hate him, but he reminded me that people are behind the mods on Creation Club, so it's funny, but at the same time. It does. I mean, those people created mods, and we buy them, and supposedly they get. Well, no, they don't get paid for the downloads. See, fuck.
No, yeah,
Creation Club is so weird. They get paid for the milestones. So, I guess it's okay for that reason, but like it's funny, but it just shows that the entire system's borked. Like I am so tired of everything Creation Club now because it's so borked that like. It's almost.
Can I be honest? I mean,
I
had not even thought of Creation Club, like until you brought it up in this podcast.
You mean for the last couple days? You just
no, literally for like the last month. It never even came to my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't check on it or anything,
and that's a problem. That's a big problem. Like that shows that they have a huge problem on their hand. But
it sucks because it's a system that could have easily been. Something that brought fans in like every day, checking for new content, doing what we did with Fallout 4 DLC, where people would like go into the files of the game and search for each patch, like new DLC files to help us get an idea of what it is. Like I remember there was one primarily about water, and we were speculating on what it could be, and people thought because there was a pipeline on the ocean side of the map that there was going to be this like BioShock type of city underneath the Commonwealth. That Vault-Tec had created, right. And then it turns out it's Far Harbor. It's like, that type of shit happens, and you don't see that with Creation Club because just no one gives a shit. It's all, it's
I would love to see the numbers behind it to see. Here's the thing, because like they're paying the creators to create these things, but I still think it's a pretty low investment on their side. So I don't think if anything, they're gaining money from this, even if it's just break even or a little bit of profit. But I would love to actually see how many people are engaging with it because, look, I will say this. I mean, Skyrim comes out on the Switch next month. The Creation Club,
I forgot about that.
I know the one benefit that I say that it has is that it enables content to be released on a console like a PS4 or a Switch that. Typically the platform holder wouldn't be happy with anyone just creating content like with mods traditionally, unlike Microsoft is with Xbox or obviously PC. But if you're on a console like that is really closed platform and there's a way to get additional content, then that's something. And obviously the argument is, well, why is it on PC as well? And I totally get that point. But, if it was Switch and it was like, here's a weapon pack for $2 that you literally can't get anywhere else because it's the Switch, I'm like, okay, cool, I'd probably get that. But that's a very limited scenario, and that's not what Creation Club is. It's broader than that. It tries to be broader than that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they did do that, like kind of platform exclusive content, like a Halo weapon pack in Fallout 4's Creation Club for the Xbox
they
users.
Do have what's it called? Well, they do have the Link's shield on Skyrim on the Switch.
Yeah, it's through an amiibo, but still, like it'd be awesome to see something like that, like. I guess, we could continue with the amiibo thing for Skyrim, but then, like, PlayStation in Skyrim, you could get, like, Aloy's bow and outfit,
that would be sweet. Like her hair or whatever. Yeah,
like, that would be really cool if they made Creation
Soul Calibur did
that.
Soul Calibur did, like, Vader for PS or for Sony and Yoda for Xbox. So even though they
also
weren't
as
related
well,
directly to the platform.
Ubisoft with Just Dance on the Switch have Mario in there. So like there are some crossovers, but yeah, it's still here and there. I think a lot of that is because Ubisoft and Nintendo are real buddy at the moment. Yeah.
Making that Mario and Rabbids money. Making Rabbids a known brand.
Exactly.
Dude, they literally made Rabbids one of Ubisoft's top IPs.
Yeah, it could have just been called Mario and those other guys, and we would have been like, all right, whatever. They did. They made people understand what Rabbids even was.
Fucking brilliant.
Like I said, my prayers are that it's a Capcom Nintendo Ubisoft threesome, and they do the Mario characters, Mega Man characters, and Rabbids all in one. Holy shit! Just because they give them the busters on their arms, and I'm like, Mega Man,
it's like
dude.
perfect fit.
You know, come on, bring him in. Oh, that'd be an amazing sequel. Because I flipped out. I remember that was probably the game I was most hyped about outside of Spider-Man and Dragon Ball FighterZ for E3. I just remember losing my shit when I saw this game because it was so different. We're still singing the praises months later, man. That's a great game.
Yeah, it's insane.
If you guys own a Switch, give it a whirl, man. It's a fun,
absolutely.
title.
And like I was listening. This was a while back, but listening to, I think it was creative director, the guy that was crying at the Ubisoft presser.
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about how like the process of making this game. Nintendo's like, you can't do a platformer and you can't do a kart racing game with Mario characters for obvious reasons. So they had to make something completely different. And then he created this XCOM style thing. And they created a working prototype and put Mario in there and then showed it to, I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto. And then he asked, did you use one of our reference models for Mario? And he's like, no, I just created it. And it was so perfect that he was that impressed that they let him do the full development of the game. It was really, really great story.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love stories like that.
Can't speak higher in that game, yeah. It's amazing.
That's still your game of the year?
I think it's going to be. I mean, are we talking about Super Mario later? I can hold up.
We can talk about it now. We're talking about Nintendo. We're going to talk about them a little bit later with EA. Okay. So it's up to you.
Well, let's go now because Super Mario Odyssey, like, I think it's got 97 on OpenCritic and Metacritic, and I think it's like a point higher than Zelda. Wow. I will still say that I think because it was such a surprise and such a joy to play, I think Mario and Rabbids is still my game of the year, and I think Zelda's second. But it's just like, it's so hard to distinguish these games. Super Mario Odyssey is a blast. It's absolutely masterful gameplay. And in particular, it's the swap between 3D and 2D. And it doesn't just happen once. It's numerous times, and there are different iterations of it. Like, there's this one level, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but this is not really a spoiler. There's this one 2D level where you go into 2D version, and there's this screen that moves at the back. And you have to stay in touch with that screen, because if you don't, Mario turns 3D again and you fall from the sky. So it's just so beautifully done. And then there's a bunch of Easter eggs with that. And just I think the Cappy mechanic was masterful as well, because there's so many enemies you can take over, which just changes up the game immensely. And tons of Easter eggs in that regard. I think this is one of the best follow-up Super Mario 64 that we could have possibly asked for. I do have some gripes. I think there's not enough worlds and way too many moons. There's like, I think 900 moons or something, which is insane.
I think it's 999.
And you could finish the game in like, I think I finished the game in under 20 hours, like the main story under 20 hours, plus some side stuff. But to finish it all, I think it's like over 40.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's a lot shorter than I expected. I thought this was going to be like a 60-hour game, you know, and you just have to chip through the world.
I mean, it depends how you play, because there's a lot of different like side races and things you can just do to explore. But I will say that's my one thing. When you played Super Mario 64, every star that you got felt like an accomplishment, because there were certain paintings and certain worlds, and every time you went into a painting, you were aiming to get 1 star. Mm-hmm. And that made it important when you got that star. In Super Mario Odyssey, they're kind of like a free giveaway. You can walk around, open a box, and then there's a star. Okay. Or just go to the secret area, and a moon, and then there's a moon. So that's the only small gripe that I have, but I get it. It's to add a lot of replayability and gameplay and hours and all that stuff. So I understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it looks wonderful. I can't wait to dive into that.
The levels are just phenomenal to look at. Like Matty, you were saying the one that I uploaded. It's Mario in a samurai outfit, and he's on a. It's we all know there's a Bowser's level, so there's Bowser's levels, but it's this beautiful. It is a mix between Chinese and Japanese architecture and influence. And the music, it's just one of the best levels ever. It's fucking amazing.
Damn, bro. Hyping me up here.
It's phenomenal, man. Like, it was weird, though. I went in and I was like, okay, this is definitely a Chinese influence, especially with the music. Mm-hmm. And then you had a Japanese armor, and I'm like, okay, I think that's cultural appropriation. But we're fine. It's fine. It's still good. That was beautiful.
Karak, have you played this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it's better. I think it's better than the, people are just going to fucking freak. But I think it's better than the original.
Wow.
On the N64. Yeah. It's the N64 had some issues because it was their first game like that. So I mean that makes sense, right? Like we tend to ignore those problems in those kind of classics even years later. Yeah. And this one is maybe won't have the ups and downs because of that, because there were some frustrating moments in the N64 one because of I guess that would be the best way to describe it. There hasn't been a moment in this game where I'm frustrated by the game. I'm frustrated. Well, except for not being able to use digital, but it's almost all me. Where with the original, there were times where I'm like, this fucking game, like it's got this is weird or that's weird. Mm-hmm. So it just feels polished, and it feels like they took every idea that they got from Sunshine. And I'm not a huge Mario fan. Every idea that they got from any game in between, and sort of said what works and what doesn't. And the only thing that I have a bitch about is, unless they patch this, is you cannot use the digital pad when you're in the 2D worlds. You use the analog, and that pisses the shit out of me. I mean,
that's weird.
The moment I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
That would have been clever, right? I mean, if you're playing the game and you switch into 2D thinking you need to use the analog, but you have to use the D-pad. And then in that level that I mentioned where you swap between, you could have a level where you swap between and you have to change controls. Like, I think that would be funny.
Yeah, that would be cool to try to figure out. I think also it doesn't suffer the technical snafus Zelda does. Regardless of what you think of Zelda, you can't lie and pretend that it doesn't have a number of little technical problems. Mario's oddly polished. It's got a low resolution thing that we've talked about before, and different podcasts talked about. It does drop to a lower res. But instead of dropping FPS in a game that matters, they drop the res in a game where FPS matters, and so you're not as impacted by that, I think. And overall, it's fantastically polished. That's the thing about Nintendo lately. Like Sony, Microsoft have these big buster games, but there's something about like these occasional Nintendo titles that you're like, what the this is like the culmination of 25 years. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, pretty crazy. But Rabbids is better.
Even Zelda, I don't think I had any. I'm sure that game has bugs. I mean, it's so big, but like
just
I didn't
the
experience
FPS issues in Zelda.
Yeah, the FPS in Kokiri Forest is always something that gets to me. Every time you go to there, it just drops.
See, I never had that, and maybe because I took so long with the game. Like I really took my time with Zelda, so by the time I got there, I think it was already patched.
No, you're right, because before the patch it was terrible. But even now, like I can guarantee you, Matty, if even now walk around in any area, then especially on the big screen, and then go to Kokiri Forest, you will see that frame rate drop.
Okay.
Frame rate drop.
Here's the thing: the patches, and frame rate drops. People are sensitive and not. So I can totally see somebody saying that they don't notice. Cadiz doesn't notice 900p versus 1080p. Like some people's eyes and the way what they pay attention to. Like if you pay attention to a foreground versus a background object, you can miss FPS issues easily, because a tree in the background will go. But if you're looking at the character, it can look smoother because the switches in and how close it is and how it moves around. It depends on what it is. But I can see somebody not noticing those as much in Zelda, especially since the patch. But it's just all their games, guys, are like,
I know.
It's
hitting
almost,
it, like knocking out of the park.
It's almost insane. Yeah, it's almost insane. And again, I'm not the hugest Nintendo lover, and even I have to sit back and go like, motherfucker, man, that's pretty crazy. Shut up, dog. You have to go like, that's pretty crazy. I'll be right back.
Even Fire Emblem Warriors, which I think I'm the only one in this call to have picked that one up, because I don't think you've played Fire Emblem before, have you?
No.
Okay. Yeah, even that, like, they just add these little things to the game where, these Dynasty Warriors titles, I've played them since I was a kid, and I love them, really. They, I'd say they're a guilty pleasure, but I think they're pretty good games regardless. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that the hack and slash after about 20 hours can get tiresome, but, like, this game adds, like, the ability to switch characters mid-battle. You can, like, because it's based off a strategy series, so you can, like, open up the map and tell people where to go, which you haven't been able to do in previous games. So these are like necessary iterations for the series in general, but you're finding them in a Fire Emblem game. It's very flashy, very stylish. You can do support, which you can do in the main Fire Emblem series to build relationships with people, but it's in the Warriors title, so it's like that additional depth. There's a history mode for all the battles you've seen throughout previous Fire Emblem games, but it's in Warriors, so you're actually like acting out the battles instead of it's this like strategic combat. Like we've seen in the original game. So it's stuff like that I also think Nintendo's doing really well, where, something that could easily be a gimmick like a Fire Emblem Warriors has some genuine innovation to it, which we don't see in a lot of spin-off titles in general and games overall. So yeah, I think
you know what the real issue is that, like, you're mentioning Fire Emblem Warriors, and I was playing Stardew on the Switch, and I had to cut it short because of Super Mario. There's just so many great games this year. I mean, I first looked at this year at the start of it thinking it's probably not going to be that great. I think this year is going to be probably the hardest year for everyone to pick their top 10 games.
Okay,
because, like, think about it. I said this on podcast. Unless something fantastic comes out this year, Zelda's going to be my game of the year. And then Rabbids came. And now Super Mario came, and it's a true contender. And there's just so much shit. And then I'm playing Wolfenstein 2 this weekend, which apparently is awesome, even though it has some issues. I've heard great things about AC Origins, to an extent. Fuck, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 is also coming out next month.
That's another one, bro. And people are telling me they're like, I read the Inferno Squadron book. Like, you shouldn't be worried if Aiden's gonna switch over. So,
yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case, man. But I was going over my list because I keep a list of all the games I beat, and right now I'm at like 50, and I put a star next to anything
this
I
year?
think can beat. Yeah, this year.
You finished so many games.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking like probably a step back, and like on the multi-release days, like we just had on the 28th or whatever, the 27th, where I'm just gonna pick like a game and just focus on that, because it's a lot. It's a fuck ton of gaming.
You know what I'm really keen for, and I think you were reviewing this, Karak, Need for Speed Payback. Did you?
Yeah.
Is it good? Please tell me it's good. You can't say, can you?
I will say this: if you go to their wiki and read of the changes that, between me knocking everything down, but between the last one and this one, there's some cool. There's definitely some big improvements.
Dude, this is going to be a game. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say the original, or not the original, but the last one that came out was, it was a fucking POS. And
really?
So, oh, dude, I still remember they had timed the time of day to where you were on the track, so you could back and forth, and it would go daytime, dawn, nighttime, daytime, nighttime, and you were just like, who the fuck programs this bullshit?
That's like that Simpsons episode where he's like walking towards the sun and he's getting larger and smaller.
What it's like now that I think about it. And if people liked it, good. You liked it. I didn't. That's life. It's not a big surprise. But I think that you guys are right that there's a lot of there's a lot of games, but I do think one of the biggest issues is that even though the Switch is selling more, it's still fighting sort of an overall group of people that's bigger. And so I think some people won't see some of these games until they can Christmas, which then won't be in their game of the year because it'll be last year. So it'll be like Christmas will be Switch, right? People will be getting their Switch and being able to experience these. And then we're going to go into 2018, and that's when they'll be playing them. And it's going to be sort of weird to see like how many times in 2018 a Mario shows up as their game of the played year versus the game of the released year, And then
also there's a problem as well. I played Mario Kart 8 this year because it came out on the Switch, and I was like, oh, this is my game of the year, quote unquote, but it wasn't released this year. Like technically that version was, but it's an older game. And there's tons of any port of a game that comes to the Switch that could be amazing, like Doom or LA Noire or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like people could be playing those for the first time and think it's really amazing to play it on the go, etc. But they're not 2017 releases.
And that's the problem also with like DLC. I'm playing Frozen Lands or whatever, the Horizon DLC. And finally, Sony contacted me back. 51 failures, 1 success. They finally contacted me back. And I was like, holy shit. And they're all, yeah, well, you know, thanks for your support when it originally came out. I did see your video, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, this is great. And then when I got it, I reread the email and it said something like, I hope we, you know, they were just back and forth banter. And they were like, man, I really hope we don't get ignored because we're DLC and in this time frame. And you're like, oh, wow. You know, I can see that actually. I can see some of these things occurring, which sort of sucks. I mean, there's a lot of really good titles. There's a lot of titles coming out later on things. We're seeing like Destiny and you know, where it's like PCs later and that's happening a lot. Or the worst thing, PC has all the problems. Look at Origins, where on PC I have a lot of people who are like, dude, it's I'm having
that's the thing.
All these issues.
A couple of people on my review when it dropped were like, why didn't you talk about the PC issues? I'm like, I didn't
have any.
Play any fucking PC versions, so I didn't know, but I played it on
Matty,
PS4.
you're intentionally ignoring all the 1,000 other PC configurations out there. It's obvious.
Yeah, and let me tell you, if Microsoft and Sony and all these companies can't do the testing on their own, Matty should. So it's Matty.
You fucking bet.
Microsoft has an entire building just filled with different configurations. You can see their video online about it, and it's just a bunch of PCs. It's like, I think 1,000 or more PCs just for people to test different configurations and see if they work. And they still fucked up Horizons and you know, all these Forza Horizon 3 and some of these other games. So it'll happen. I think that
QA, man.
It is a nature QA. I just think we've got these awesome releases, and unfortunately, like Matty said, it'll be hard to choose, but even past that, it's going to sort of suck, because I think some games that are awesome, it might impact some companies, you know, because like they're awesome, but there's a lot of chatter, you know, like, and they can get lost really easy, and a hob can sell well. What does that mean? Maybe not much. Like that.
It's DLC, Karak. And did you guys? Here's a better question: have you played Resident Evil 7's DLC?
Yes. No, wait a minute. No.
See, this is Karak. This is Karak that plays every fucking game. Matty, you haven't played.
I know it was out.
That's I think there's been one, and it's coming out soon, and I've heard no one talk about it. Like, and just imagine trying to sell, let alone your first game, like Resident Evil 7, I think it did okay, and then trying to release a DLC in this time, plus the, like, you know, Zelda has DLC coming out later. That I could not imagine how hard it is to try and sell additional content for a game.
And we're at attention-focused gaming now, which has never happened before. You have a Twitch streamer will attention-focus people to a title for a specific amount of time, and then they'll move on. Now, you have the long-term, you know, Battlegrounds player or whatever, but a good deal of them just go from game to game to game, and they'll never return. Like, they'll... And that, to me, it is sad, because I didn't know... I knew there was one planned for some other reasons that aren't actually related to the DLC, but I don't even know if it's out or, you know, when it's coming out. And that does suck, because that's a premier title from them. So if you don't hear about it, and that's and all these games as a service, this is the problem that we're all going to have. We're three in a year or 2 years are going to sit here and go, okay, wait, what game do you have, and what characters, and what maps,
what pack is that in?
What pack is that in? Yeah, and that is great for some things, but it's going to be terrible for companies some companies as a whole. That,
do you know what I think the problem is? I think we're sitting here. I would say, like, we're not like old, but we are like old hats in the sense that we're used to games, DLC pack, pack, etc.
Expansion or whatever.
But now, a lot of younger people, especially, they'll get, you know, a DLC and they'll have weekly content like all the time. Like, it's a completely different distinction. And then as more of those games start to be released, you know, games as a service, it's not the world we grew up in. And it's just different. Like, you know, good or bad or whatever, it just feels different. So it's a little weird, and you have to get used to that.
We're in for like whether you believe like it's going to crash, which I don't. I think there's too many segments now
Jason,
where like
Jason
one part
crash says it's going to crash. Oh, he was like,
that's what I'm talking
and we can
about,
talk about
actually,
this
that
eventually,
tweet.
but he said that all this news about companies closing and layoffs and all of that, it just makes me wonder think that the games industry isn't sustainable. And I don't think we're heading for another crash. I think we're beyond that. But we are still a young industry. Bear that in mind.
I also think that on purpose, due to NDAs, new companies are not announced. So I know of multiple companies that just started up in the last 6 months too, and we don't talk about those because they haven't released anything. So, that's sort of on one side of the equation. That tweet, that's the tweet I was sort of alluding to, because I don't want to call anybody out, positive or negative, about that thought process. But it is nerve-wracking. I mean, is AA going to take over on some things? AAA will just do a couple, because they're not going to go away, obviously. They'll figure it out. Like, even if they have to change their ways, they won't just disappear. Most of them. All companies will have issues. But it's awesome, though, at the same time, right? Because it's the first time where somebody who has... Exactly. And you can have a Nintendo Switch, and now, less so than before, you're not left out of a good deal of, whether it be independent stuff, but third-party, stuff is coming too. It's awesome. It's so good for gamers.
I mean, because I was looking at my list earlier when I was going through my notebook, and like out of all the games I beat, I got like 10 on there. I was counting that I could easily be my game of the year. Easily.
Oh, wow.
That's how good. That's how good this year for me at least has been. Like, there's so many titles I'm like, I fucking love that. I fucking love that. There's been a lot I haven't liked when I was going through the list. I was like, because I played so much, there's a lot that's just kind of filtered to the bottom easily. But there's a lot of games there that I like, the ones I liked, I was like, fuck yes. So it's going to be, for me, I usually do a top 5, and it's like, I'm thinking I'm going to have to do top 10 this year.
Yes.
It's funny, though, because like Maddie and I do it so different. I don't know if Lone does the same way, but I purposely don't make a list because I think that like I'll remember.
Oh, no, I do go off memory.
Does that make sense?
I instantly know my top 2, no matter what.
Oh, I have my spreadsheet and formulas and shit.
No, what I do is I just write them down.
8.7 from GameSpot, that's number 1. No, sorry. What?
No,
what
graphics 10, blah, blah, blah.
I know for a fact it's going to be like near Persona 5. It's just like after that, like I want to look at it and say like, that game I really liked, but this, that. Like a Horizon I liked a lot, but that'll probably be up more on the list now. Just because, some of it, that Witcher 3 tracking mechanic being overused to fucking no end. I can't stand overused mechanics, really, in a lot of games. They bug me to fucking no end. So that's why I usually have an issue with that. But I'm more of a sucker. But that's where we all differentiate as gamers, because most people probably don't care. I'm more of a sucker for like really good writing and storytelling, like in Nier, where those side quests, they're so basic. They're like, get 5 of this, but it's like the fucking weight of the event and what happens at the end of each quest feels like so much more because of how dark it is and the writing they do. So it's
just
really
to end
different.
this. I know we're talking for a while, but I just want to so far list the top 10 games on OpenCritic for this year, and I think some are actually there are a lot of reboots, but older versions, but Super Mario Odyssey's 1, Zelda's 2, Persona 5's 3, Divinity Original Sin's 4. Then you got Mario Kart 8 and Shovel Knight, so we can exclude them. Paradigm, Nier, Horizon Zero Dawn, Hollow Knight, Lone Echo, XCOM 2. Oh, see, I forgot about this game, and I know Karak doesn't like it, but What Remains of Edith Finch. Is there just Cuphead? You remember Cuphead, guys? It came out the other week.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's that I just wasn't as hot on it as everybody.
Fair enough.
Cuphead.
Sonic Mania. Resident Evil 7.
Cuphead cracks me up. I think Cuphead can't win from a lot of people because they can't play it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
It's going to be hard for a lot of people. I mean, it was hard. There were times where that was quite fucking nut crunching. So.
Yeah.
You know what? If you guys see me sniffing, I apologize. My Doberman / Great Dane / Pitbull pooped in the house. My wife's cleaning it right now. It's the size of my fucking head. And that's why I went, because I heard barking and I opened the door and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? I walked out there and I'm like, it looks like the mashed potatoes mountain in Close Encounters of the Third Kind that Dreyfuss made in his back. I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, or it looks like the shit Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park reached into. I was like, Zen. I mean, he's a huge dog, but I'm all, nah, that he had to have spat out a whole nother dog. Yeah. So if you see me going, it's because of that. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah. When he barked, I was like, that was a weird sounding bark. That was his. Well, it's done. It's done, Karak. Come clean up after me, Bart. So speaking of dog shit, let's talk about Call of Duty for a second.
Okay.
This is gonna be interesting.
Call of Duty 2. So I want people to post if they've played it, and I would just like to hear what their thoughts are, because I said this prior to the podcast. This is about the third or fourth game I've been a little bit confused when I see other people's scores, and this is rare for me. Usually there's a delineation. Like you'll see a 80%, and then you'll see like a 75 that makes sense. You know, okay, that makes sense. Their experiences were different, or 70, or if they had bugs, whatever, or a little bit better because their experience was better. But there's been a couple games where, I mean, I seriously have to not post, like not tweet about it, because I don't want to be that guy, because I really do feel that a lot of people are being very honest, and they're like, but what I'm experiencing in Call of Duty WW2 is nowhere near a 97% or a 95% or a 90% or possibly an 85 or an 80%. And I would really love to hear people who played both sides, because you have to play it all, you know, as a reviewer. I want people to post what they think, like what their experiences of it are so far, because it's a first time where I felt like posting to you guys and being like, I don't know.
I've just put out a poll on Twitter, especially if you retweet it. I think we'll get it really good.
Okay.
Yeah, do that. But have you played it, Matty?
I played the beta a lot, and then Activision. I don't say it's in an ungrateful fashion, but for some reason, despite me never saying anything kind about them in any video,
did they give you a code?
They did. I didn't even ask for one.
You know, I tell you what, Matty. Like, for all the stuff that you said about them, the fact that they still give you a code.
Yeah, absolutely. It's commendable. It absolutely is. It's just shocking, because I have EA where I made one bad video about a game. Not one. I've made a lot of videos on how they suck. But, like, it started with one video saying Battlefront 2 was just disappointing. Not fucking awful, just disappointing. And they took me off their list like that. It's like, Activision, I literally beat the shit out of verbally, and they're like, here's a code, Matty. It's like, all right. What do you think of it? I'm going to put it on the okay. Yeah, COD World War II is just okay for me at the moment.
Okay. That's what I put it at, as okay.
Yeah, I played multiplayer. I have not touched the single player. Karak, you beat it. I have not touched Nazi Zombies, so my opinion can't change. But from what I played multiplayer-wise, it's what Karak and I were talking about before we did this podcast, where we were like, it's just... people are obsessed with the idea of change, but it doesn't really fundamentally change what COD is. Where Call of Duty, we're seeing everyone freak out like it's the most new thing we've seen in this franchise in a while. But this boots on the ground warfare and stuff, it feels so familiar and uninventive in many ways.
Yeah.
And plus, the first thing they make sure you do, make sure you see, is like the social page, the news page, the microtransactions. It's like, then there's the game. On top of that, before
it is so weird.
Yeah, before you can group up with any friends, they put you in the headquarters mode, which is going to be the place you see a lot of microtransaction packs falling from the sky. You can interact with the quartermaster, get challenges, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, and you get these armory credits. There's like 3 different type of digital credits. There's like a ranked unlock token, a prestige token. There's fucking armor credits. There's I don't even know, man. It was like I was just sitting there. It was like 3 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck? I just want to play. Like, but more so than anything, it was trying to be different, but it was under the guise of clearly the fundamental reason all of that was there, because it's not necessary in a COD game. It's like, oh, there's microtransactions and there's loot crates. So that's why all of this flavor is here.
A question. So my friend recently was just like, hey, Lone. He didn't call me Lone, but it was like, are you picking up Call of Duty World War II? And I think the reason why I'm probably not going to play it is it just goes back to me for like 4 years or something, pretty much solely playing Call of Duty so much that it undermined every other experience that I could have had. You know, I didn't play so many great games for those years because I was just playing Call of Duty.
Same. And
I think that's why I haven't jumped back into it. You know, I've played it so much in the past, and it might be a great game, and it might have changed certain things. I still think it's going to feel familiar, as you said, Matty, because it is a Call of Duty game. They're not going to change the formula that much to make it unrecognizable.
Absolutely.
But I think because it is Call of Duty, and because I missed out on so many games in the past, I don't want that to happen again. Because Call of Duty is a multiplayer game. Like, I'm not going to buy it just for the campaign.
Yeah.
It would be something that I definitely would play if I was also going to play the multiplayer, but. And maybe this is a thing with just multiplayer games generally for me, but all of these hours that I put into a multiplayer game, for some reason nowadays I think I could be playing another single-player game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I could be finishing Wolfenstein 2, or I could be starting AC Origins, and like, I don't know what it is with me nowadays. I mean, even playing Super Mario Odyssey now, I'm like, okay, I've finished the main game. I know there's an end quest or something that I need another 200 stars for, and then there's another 500 stars on top of that. I genuinely don't know if I'm going to finish that game. And same with Zelda. I never finished all the side quests in Zelda. I don't know what it is, but it's like nowadays I'm getting happy where I get to a game, finish like not all of it, but a good amount of it, aside from Rabbids, because I fucking I wait till I'm satisfied and then I'll move on to something else. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But with Call of Duty, I'm just like, there is no end. Like, I don't think there's any stage that you can play a multiplayer game and feel satisfied. I think you usually play until you get sick of it. I don't know. I don't think I like that.
The reason I deem it as okay is because I not only just my opinion of the game, but I hate the idea that like people are acting like there has been this big change when there hasn't been. It is still. It's like AC Origins. That's what I said in my review.
Would you call it a reskin or more than that?
Oh no, it's more than a reskin.
Yeah.
What we're just talking about is like. Yeah, like AC Origins, where before the podcast I was saying it's the idea of change. It depends on how deep it really is, and there are some changes. I mean, there's like no double jumping and stuff in Call of Duty now, and you know that's all great. But what happens is, if you consider like the cake, all of your normal gameplay stuff that's always there, and your frosting is double jumping or this or that, a little bit of the frosting was gone and it's new frosting, but it's still that. And the weird thing is it doesn't improve much. So it's weird because the change, I'm worried that people are in love with change now, and it's not in love with good change, but I'm getting nervous that people are becoming change for change's sake because they're burned. That's fine. Like, I totally get it. If a gamer's like, dude, I just want change, I totally see where they're coming from, but it's a little nerve-wracking to go, there isn't really. And the thing is people were, hated on the other Call of Duties, which I get, and I liked a couple of them. The reason why, because those things like double jumping at least made them, well, not double jumping itself, but I mean, the way they played, there were certain things I may have liked. So I get that people might like this, but I have issues with Call of Duty beyond just change for change's sake. It's buggy as fuck. Collision detection on multiplayer, I guess Maddie hasn't noticed this as much, but collision detection seems very odd in this game, and so that's why I'm hoping to see what people think. It could just be one of those titles that requires a different mindset when you go in that I magically didn't have this time. I mean, it is weird that we're seeing a 97%, and I'm going to tell you right now, what I have seen, I mean, it is very hard to bridge a gap to 87%, let alone 97. Like It's and I even saw somebody, we were laughing about this earlier with the like controlling what people see and removing stuff from games. Like, one of the reviews is like, it shows the honor of our past World War II vets. I'm going to tell you right now, as somebody who has a past World War II vet in their family, there's nothing honorable about this. Like, it read like so much PR. I was all, this got into a review. Like, I don't know. It just seemed odd. Could just be me.
Yeah, that's weird. I think the honorable thing, I think, is like the Activision. They have this veteran program. I can't remember what the name of it is, but like, I think that's really great. And that's the honorable bit. But when going back to Call of Duty, you were mentioning that this is probably not something that's above 90. To be honest, I can't think of that many Call of Duty games that I would consider above 90. I mean, maybe Black Ops. It was one or two. It was one of them.
Two was considered really good.
Two, yeah, and then also maybe Modern
awesome.
Warfare 2 because it was so innovative.
Yeah.
Like it was just awesome.
It was.
But even that being said, even though back in the day, I knew these games weren't the greatest games in the world. I don't know what it was. Like someone just posted a picture on Twitter to me, with just like a couple of Monster Energy drinks, a new headset, and the Call of Duty games. And I thought that was me every November, because it's Christmas, summertime when around we get Call of Duty. That was me for so many years, and I bought into that. I love that shit, knowing that the games probably weren't Game of the Year, but I just. All this appeal that I had of Call of Duty, it's swimming back in my memory. I get it, but again, I still think I'd rather play more other games instead of sinking 100+ hours into Call of Duty. That's just me.
Well, what's weird is right now, bad is winning out on your.
So it's 30. So over 100 people have voted. 34% bad, 32% okay, 23% good, and 11% great.
Every COD launch is like this.
It is true, but even some of the reviewers, because I went back and checked, rated the other CODs lower, much lower. And this one, when I read the text, it was almost like one review, they're searching for a reason to find problems, familiarity or whatever. Well, that's not searching. That's legitimate on their part. And then on this one, it was like World War II, and you're all, okay. I mean, I don't know. It just, like I said, it feels weird. I hate to be that guy because I think almost everybody is out there just trying to say what their honest impression is.
I think the timing's perfect. Because, let's look at, we got 2 World War II titles right now. We got Wolfenstein 2, which, alternate history World War II, but still World War II. It's got the, I'm forgetting the word of it, the contraptions, I think they're called, which
gadgets.
Gadgets, okay. That help change up the...
Yeah.
Like the stilts and everything. Stuff that helps change the gameplay. The alternate history. Familiar, yet different. It's stuff like that makes me appreciate that World War II game. Opinions on the story aside, makes me appreciate that more than Call of Duty, which is not only have we seen this in the franchise tons of times before, but it's not really adding anything to that World War II formula that we've seen in a lot of video games, even outside of COD.
True. And do you know what I think? It's not the issue, but it's the world that Activision now lives in with Call of Duty, because it's one of those situations where you they as much as we say they need to change and they need to innovate, they can't do that too much because then it won't feel like Call of Duty. And that's because Call of Duty, whether you like it or not, it does have a huge fan base out there that like what they want. They want every year. They want that Call of Duty. They want it to feel the same, and they want to play it with their friends. And obviously they want change here and there, like going to World War II, for instance. But they don't want Call of Duty to become this completely different game, which is why I personally didn't like the jetpacks and the wall running and stuff. I'm like, leave that to Titanfall. Mm-hmm. I didn't really like that. I wanted Call of Duty for what it was, and at the same time, it's a good thing because it keeps you, mostly anyways, it keeps your current audience. But it's also a bit of a hindrance because it does prevent, big change, big innovation. It's kind of like the FIFA games. You can't make FIFA more like Rocket League because FIFA is FIFA. And people are buying FIFA every year to play FIFA. You know what I mean? And I think Call of Duty is in a similar bracket there.
I think that's possible. But I will say that Modern Warfare 2 changed up a shit ton from the Call of Duty games prior.
Like what?
So,
the perk system, perk pro,
perk system, story, just everything. I mean, that's why it's considered probably the best or one of the best in the series.
Hold on, but you guys are saying they've changed perks and kill streaks, but what I'm hearing is that they still have perks and kill streaks, which very much feels like Call of Duty.
No. I'm correct. I'm saying that they could change. I don't see a reason why they couldn't, or they do something a little different and they try a smaller game. Even though this isn't Activision, this is so we're talking about all games now. They try a game that is doing something slightly different. Because, for example, a long time Battlefield is just MP, then it's got SP, short, whatever. Also, this campaign, shortest fucking campaign I've ever witnessed in my life. It is BF1 levels. Yeah. Wow. And but I get where Lone's coming from. That makes sense. Like, the thing is that I don't feel comfortable agreeing with that and then not acknowledging that many of the reviewers that gave it high scores are our age. So it's why am I, or why are we seeing this? And then people who did live through the same stuff we did are not, but the only difference is that one group went to some event and the other group didn't. Like that. Yeah. And you hear this, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist because you hear this all the time, and I think conspiracy theorists are their own worst enemies, because then if you don't believe anything around you in the world, you will trust nothing because you'll just consider it all a fucking hallucination or something. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I really wish somebody could explain it, because here I see now the polls even updated even more, and the people in my Discord, there's only 3 out of 100 that like it. So it's like, okay, what is happening? And I'm not saying that the reviewers are even wrong at all. I'm genuinely inquisitive of what they experienced and how they experienced it. Because it's like, did they experience it in a way that for whatever reason I didn't? Like,
I think that's probably what it is, Karak. I mean, think about just not just the amount of games that we've had this year that are good, the diversity of games that we've had this year. And think about, you could have liked one game in particular, like Cuphead, and tons of other people might not have liked it. And maybe Cuphead's different because like you can very easily understand why someone might not like Cuphead because they can't play it and it's so hard. But it's more that because the game has it's maybe a particular niche, or it's just created in a certain way. Like, let's go to Rabbids. Rabbids is a strategy top-down isometric XCOM style of game. I know that's not for everyone. And that's why I'm saying that when we go to this year's top 10s, everyone's going to have a tough time, and I think everyone's top 10s are going to be so vastly different. Because this year in particular, we've had so many different games, and I think what it's highlighted to me is that gaming has really gotten to the stage where it's become a lot like film, where we have much big, like different and diverse pockets of interest in the games community, where people just like what they like. Some people like Call of Duty, and I think those are the people that are giving it above 90. And I get that because I've had those times in my life. Some people, like you, Karak, don't like Call of Duty, and they can't possibly imagine how people would give it that score. It's like some people with Blade Runner, for instance, the recent movie. I haven't watched it. Some people are giving this thing a game, like a movie of the year. It's fucking amazing, best thing ever created. But it flopped at the box office because a lot of people didn't like how it didn't have action. So it's just, I think the games industry is maturing in that sense, where people are liking what they like, they're getting comfortable with their genres, and some people just do not like Call of Duty. And that'll never change for them.
So I agree with you. What I'm saying is this is the first time I couldn't understand. What I mean is when I'm reading reviews or watching videos and going, you're not explaining yourself well enough, and I can't bridge this gap of where you're like, why is this way? So that's what I'm saying is like, is there something that was experienced, or is there something that's experienced, whatever, that for some reason for this in particular game, I didn't get? And is that what happened with Metal Gear Solid, which is they went to an event, and the Metal Gear Solid reviews.
Dude, look at the reviews for AC Origins from the press. They went to an event too for that. They had to review it in 6 days, 5 days.
They went to an event to review the game.
Yeah,
like,
they
entirely.
They like booked
do you know why?
into a hotel.
Do you know why? So remember we were talking about that the person who had told me about like Primal and stuff had said that there were 2 or 3 things that the industry was going to do to try to curb YouTuber and like Twitch say in a negative way. The new thing now is ship people who are pressed to an event, and that way you remove the YouTubers. Now what's weird is Maddie and I YouTubers. No, here's what's happening. The NDAs are different. Either they're late, for example, Call of Duty was late for YouTubers, but was not for press. And Origins was later for YouTubers. And some of us were lucky, found retail, what have you. What happens is the new thing is ship everybody to an event and do it way early and tell them it's pre-patch, blah, blah, blah. And then later you can do Twitch and you can do your YouTubers, what have you. But you have them at a totally different embargo. This is what I talked about before. There were 3 fucking embargoes for some of these past games, depending on who and what you did. And that's the new thing. And Ubisoft has never done that. I don't remember them ever taking people to review a title. They did take them to preview at Watch Dogs 2. I went to that.
Yeah, they do previews a lot.
This is the first time where they shipped people off to a closed area and said, and if you noticed Call of Duty, there's been a couple games now where if you read close, they'll be like shipped to special event. And you're like, And I would assume we'll see that from any company that has the physical means. And in a way, it makes sense, because one thing they hate, and I agree with this, I was so pissed, I told you guys about it. Somebody posted prior to the embargo dropping, all of the fucking cutscenes and the ending to Origins and named it preview. And put it out there on the. I was so pissed.
Do you know what someone else? And this Total Biscuit tweeted out. I was so pissed off about this. You guys were pretty much praising, or not praising, but you were grateful that Bethesda changed their review policy to give you the game earlier, and then someone broke the fucking embargo for Wolfenstein 2. And I'm saying that is. I'm not saying that that's the sole reason. Don't get me wrong, but that is not fucking helping the situation when you're breaking embargo. Exactly, but you know what? It's not just biting the hand that feeds you. It's biting the hand that feeds everyone else.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's one of the reasons why I always check embargoes, even if I do retail. Because like Prey, I was all, okay, when can you do a review for Prey, technically? And all I had to do was contact other people until finally somebody said, oh, here's what's in the NDA. You know, they're nice enough to do it. And with Bethesda, when. But what happens is, that's one of the reasons why I think most people still hold the embargo even with retail copies, because there were retail copies of Call of Duty days before. There were retail copies of almost all these games days before were available, and somebody broke it. And that is unfortunately, if I was an industry person, that would piss me off to no end, because
piss me off too.
Yeah, even if it wasn't a review, that person. They faked people. They said a preview, and I had somebody who was like, "Well, if you don't know that cutscenes and the ending aren't a preview," and I was like, "Do you know how many previews have cutscenes? Almost all of them. Like, they're not going to know until something bad shows up, and that's when they're going to know." And what a jackass!
I know some people they don't like embargoes, but from my perspective, the point of embargoes is to give every reviewer a fair fucking playing ground, right? So everyone can just take the time that they need, play the game at their pace that they need to, and not be stressed to get the review out the door. So when there's a consistent review release embargo, everyone knows that is, and everyone is treated the same way, and no one has an unfair advantage. That is the point of review embargoes. And then when people break that, because you know why they're breaking it, is to get more views, because it'll be the only one out there. That's the point of them. So, again, when that person... I know we veered off our topic, but when that person broke the
I think veered off is a fucking understatement.
We did, didn't we? Because we were talking
the original
about,
topic was, as I have written in the Black Book, Bethesda reworking Creation Club for larger content.
No. I changed it. I changed it. Call of Duty. Remember? I said I want to talk about Call of Duty.
Yeah, and then I put
but
slash.
That's a continuation.
Because then we started talking about Game of the Year. I was like, slash Game of the Year chat. And then we're like, hold on, fuck Call of Duty. I was like, fuck, I'll just put this all in one gigantic segment.
Call of Duty Creation Club. Download skins for your gun.
Someone in the comments, track our course of that conversation. I just want to see where we went to.
I wish someone would do that, because sometimes we just veer off, and I have these preset timestamps written down for myself, and I'm like, what am I going to label that? I'm like, fuck it, I can't. And I see the Kind of Funny Games cast every time the top rated comment is, here's all the timestamps. Someone just handles it all.
Luckily enough, we have a person on my channel now that does that, and because I don't have the time, because the same thing happens to you. Like, I'm rendering it, and you can't rewatch the fucking thing. That's another 2 hours.
Yeah.
So definitely nice when somebody does that. But yeah, that's my fault for veering off.
No, you're fine. No. I don't want you to feel like you shouldn't have.
I want to hear, because I'm open to the fact I haven't fucking played multiplayer enough to review it. So it's like, that's all I'll do today, and then I'll jump to other games. So, we'll see. I know a couple companies did say they were going to hold off this time, because last night multiplayer servers were not working well.
They crashed.
So,
they did not work for 2 hours.
I mean, I guess you could say it's not worth buying right now because it's fucking not working multiplayer if you wanted, but I'll wait a little bit on this.
All right. Next topic, we're gonna roll 2 into 1 just because we were on that for an hour. Nice. We're gonna be talking about EA for both these topics. So the first one is that EA has reworked Battlefront 2's loot crates. Essentially, the moral of the story here is we're seeing that they are rewarding players who play the game. So you can only get certain weapons through you can only get pretty much all weapons through playing the class and unlocking the weapon for that class. You can't just downgrade things you get in these loot crates into parts to craft these ridiculously high-powered star
they got rid of that mechanic entirely.
Which one?
Like the whole you can like when you I can't remember what it was called, but you're essentially trashing stuff that you don't want that contributes to better stuff. So they got rid of that, is what you're saying?
Maybe if you unlock it through level progression, you can turn it into scrap parts, I think. But they're saying the ones you buy, you cannot. And you can't get epic star cards inside loot crates either. Now, when I was going through all of this update from DICE, I was thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, wasn't this obvious? Like, especially the weapon progression, that they're like, you can now unlock weapons by playing the class. So if you want to unlock the next weapon in a heavy class, you have to play as the heavy. I'm like, what the fuck were you doing beforehand? I'm sorry.
Guess what, guys? 2 + 2 does equal 4.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying. I wasn't trying to be hyperbolic. I was just thinking to myself, wait, like it wasn't going to be like this, is what you're telling me was the initial idea. You know, I'm looking forward to this game so much. I've been paying close attention to it. And I guess I must have missed that part, especially when playing the beta, because I thought, you know, it unlocked through progression. So when I saw that, I was mind blown. I was like, they completely based the entire progression system around microtransactions. You cannot argue that. And fortunately, they listened. But you got to wonder, you know, there's really no morals in business, but would they have changed this if you know, people didn't complain? Because it's just a wonky ass system if it's not that way.
I will say that they wouldn't have changed it because they said they changed it because of feedback. If if their feedback wasn't there, they wouldn't have changed it.
But shouldn't have it not been like that in the first place? Is what I'm saying. Just general game design suggests you play the game, you reward the player, not you play the game, you get a crate. Here's something random. Is what I'm saying. I know, and I will sound a little hypocritical, admittedly, because I love Overwatch. But Overwatch also only offers me cosmetics for me putting in the time.
Overwatch
unlocking
is a completely different system.
The loot crate. And we always spin off into Overwatch with this discussion, but more so I want to get your guys' thoughts on these loot crate changes and what you think about them.
So, I wasn't that familiar with the system before, like in the beta, before all the changes. So I just tweeted out to Twitter and I said, hey, what do you think of these changes? Are they good? And I think the consensus was it is much better. There are some people that just still don't trust like EA as a company, so they're not going to buy the game. Fine. But I think the consensus is that the changes are for the better and they listened, but it's still not perfect. Is the thing that I'm saying.
I mean, star cards I think suck. So
okay.
Yeah, like I'd agree with that sentiment that like this is a good change, but as long as star cards are there, I'm pretty confident that anyone coming in December is fucked.
So right now with the changes, if I was to come in, launch day and buy a bunch of star cards, you buy the star cards, correct? Or you buy the loot boxes that open star cards.
Yeah,
this is what I'm using.
And then you upgrade them through playing the game, basically. Now.
All right. Now, what I saw is that the best weapons are those that you can't purchase. Is that correct?
Yeah. You cannot.
So,
there are weapons still in loot crates, but they're like apparently not the really good ones. Who the fuck knows? But we'll see in due time.
Yeah, but like that being said, like someone coming in a month later, this is a tough conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, because nobody fucking knows how it's going to be. Like it's literally the worst explained various systems unless you sit down. Any other game, if we ask somebody, and I'm sure right now people are literally dying as they're typing on the keyboards, and I get that. We play a lot of games, so we don't follow this title. But it is funny that like it's changed and their wording's weird and all this kind of stuff, and it's come to the point now where people are just throwing their hands up, going, "Fuck, I don't know." Like we'll just see when it gets released, and somebody sort of will identify just how much we're getting fucked. Like that's the problem is. Ratings should just be like a little fucked, somewhat fucked, completely fucked. Like that's the problem now is you never know. And this bullshit, some weapon, like the moment you put the word instead of a number, that bothers me. I've talked about this about loot boxes. I hate hearing rare. What the fuck does rare mean? That's a word. It doesn't mean the number. So if you have a rare chance of getting something, who fucking knows? But if you put it like you have a 25% chance, well, then that's a number. And then, there's some clarity there. With this game, there's almost no clarity. And it's just everywhere. And their wording of like, we're changing it because, well, if you change it because of us, that's awesome. But it also means your balancing is going to require a shit ton of work because the game design was designed around something else. And then
it's going to be troublesome.
It's going to be troublesome. And then what Maddie was saying is even more important. Is something I always bitch about, which is whenever anybody says they changed and you looked at their status quo, then you have to ask, what in the hell were they originally doing? I'm not saying Maddie's right, because even he's like, I think this is what they said. We'll have to wait, but it's just confusing. It's a gray area game.
It's been one thing, then another. I thought it was going to be something. It's not that. So it's just like it's going to be unclear until we have our hands on the game, basically. Or you've been paying extremely close attention to, you're one of those people who's like, yo, like I'm looking so forward to this. I'm on every game video, like that type of thing. And I've been trying to keep up with it, but you got to keep up with so many other things when you do this. The other thing that EA is in a rush, or in not a rush to do, is develop for the Switch. Despite being, I think they brought FIFA, right, to the Switch?
They brought FIFA, and I guess that's the testing ground for them. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, that the development studio that developed FIFA is EA Vancouver, is Montreal. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh boy, Vancouver was doing it. I'm pretty sure that's the one who's taking over Visceral's project.
Yeah.
They're making fucking FIFA on the Switch, and now they're going over to a Star Wars game. God, I hope not.
So, no, the Montreal studio, massive studio, like over 2,000 people. They're developing every single iteration. I still think they're doing Xbox 360 and PS3 FIFAs. So the fact that they did FIFA is not like the biggest risk investment in the world. Like they would have had people there that could have done that. And I think for them, it's more of a question: do they dedicate a studio in a different city that doesn't have that scope as that studio does, that maybe has a high cost of living, doesn't have like the tax breaks that particular Canadian city does? That's going to be the real challenge for them. And if in a safe environment like that FIFA game is, if that doesn't sell well, then maybe like they don't want to put the investment, like the actual investment, in another game. So I'm not like, it's a bummer, but I still kind of get it, because there's still like, if you think about it, there are a lot of Switches out there, but there's still not yet. It's still a console that was released this year. And think about all like the Wii U and just like the relationship that Nintendo's had with third parties. Like there's still a lot of memories there, I think, that people like EA still have at the back of their mind.
Yeah, because a lot of their games, I just can't imagine like Mass Effect Andromeda on the Switch, for example. Like, just...
I think that would do phenomenally well, I think.
You think?
I think that would do...
Andromeda?
Yeah.
Dude, that's toilet paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it'll do as well as like something like Skyrim will do. Like the fact that you can play this shit on the go, I have to keep stressing that.
Yeah, but Andromeda.
It doesn't like... I still think it'll do well. Even if you do like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, bundle it, bam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Fuck yeah. I'd love that. But, yeah, it's just like those games, would EA think they'd fit? I mean, they're not... Is EA big on... I think they're the company I saw that said they're not big on re-releases or...
That is correct, yeah. And remasters was the big thing. Yeah. They originally came out, the CEO said... you won't see any remasters from us, and I think they've done one or two. I could be wrong, but it's remasters more than like different versions. That's what they said
to me. Is like a remaster of the first one, because of how the first one just felt like a fucking base build, bare bones of shit. And they're remastering it into is like, here's all the features.
Can I be honest? Like, I think the game that EA's, if there's going to be another one that EA puts on there, which I think there will be, I think there's going to be another EA game. I think it might be Need for Speed. I think that might be a really good fit for the Switch. Because I can't think of...
a really fast driving game with that kind of like nighttime graphics on a small screen, you think?
I think so. I think it could work. I mean, Mario Kart had some night... Like, I know it's different. I know, but all I'm thinking is just racing game. Mario Kart was great to play. You could play with your mates, take out the two Joy-Cons and verse other people. I think it's a good fit. And we're getting Rocket League as well. It's different. Like, mind you, they are different, and I understand that. But Switch, I don't think has a racing game like Need for Speed.
That's what I was going to say, was you even if it didn't do so well, the one thing you just mentioned is a title that doesn't have competition on the Switch. So it may end up being
I read this interesting article that a lot of Japanese developers are scrambling to release games on the Switch now that they didn't have the confidence before the Switch came out. Unlike other studios that started development, so they're just their games are just starting to come out, and they're coming out soon. But now some Japanese developers are like, shit, the Switch is doing well. We need to get games on there. But now you're not going to see their games until 2019, 2020. And that's when the Switch is going to be really oversaturated. Right now, you go to the Switch market, I think there's 10 or 15 games released every week, roughly. But it's still not at that saturation point. So I think the games that are on there are doing pretty well individually. Yeah. Over time, that's just going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
Yeah, because it's right now it's easy pickings. Anything good that comes out just instantly bubbles to the top, and you know what to grab. Especially with these every month, Nintendo's had a really good release for the system.
Also, if you think about it, this could be. It's too bad a third-party company or Nintendo just had Mario, but didn't have a winter Christmas. This is like the Christmas I feel that. Some company could have long tail sales for 6 years if they sold a really good game in Christmas.
I'll be back. One second.
Okay, here we go. Wait, you what? What's he gonna do?
Switch.
We're gonna time him while he's playing levels. Okay. I got so while we're waiting for him, when I went out to find the giant Jurassic Park dump, I had got a knock on my door. That was the mail, and I thought it was the game we talked about. Do you know what it was?
What?
Do you know what it was? Already got all the versions. Thanks, Activision. Man,
game giveaway time, baby.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
All right, so I wanted to show you guys something. Charts, all right. This is the Nintendo Switch eStore and the top games that are on there, right? This is what I mean about the game. The Switch is not having that. You know what the problem is with Steam and stuff, and Xbox and even PlayStation, is that a game has barely a week window at the top of the charts or new releases, and then it's gone. Let me read to you the top games at the top of the Nintendo Switch charts. This is top sales chart. Stardew Valley is number 2, Shovel Knight's number 3, Overcooked is number 4, Golf Story is number 5, Snake Pass is number 7. These are pretty small indie games that are weeks old, and they're still at the top of the charts there. They still have a lot of exposure. Right now, it's the perfect... If you took a big bet on the Switch and you released a game right now, I think you're in pretty good form because you're staying on the top of those charts for weeks, and that never happens on any other platform. But
good point.
Over time, that's going to get harder. If every week you're having a new third party come out, like a big AAA, that marketplace is going to get crowded as fuck. So,
you know what else is going to happen? And this is a sad discussion. It's happened on the Xbox and the PS4, so I know it'll happen. You're going to have those people, especially with L.A. Noire, who don't buy games because of the size of the memory, and just say, "Oh yeah, I don't have enough memory to buy this game right now." That's the one limitation I find. That's the one limitation that I just don't know how the Switch gets around, and legitimately gets around. It's got a severe issue, and this is I see it in my Discord. I see it in Maddie's Discord, where somebody's like, "I don't have any space on my hard drive, so I'm not getting this game," and I'll be like, "Oh my god, that's a problem." It's not like a PC where you just hit install, even though it is. There's something different about console games where I don't know why, but it's a lot of people hold it's weird, but on Steam I just hit uninstall, fucking uninstall. But and a lot of people I know do, but something about the console, they're like, I'll just keep a hold of that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because PT burned them and they don't want to ever lose a game. But you have this situation where I have seen that now come up a lot, where L.A. Noire, you guys saw the big news about how big that is.
Yeah.
And that, to me, it worries me a little bit for the Switch, not in some massive way, but in how you keep up with others' way. And that's important because if you can't keep up with others, what happens is the discussion comes quite quickly to a successor, quicker than you would like. And technologically, there's a couple issues with the Switch, that being the main one, that I don't know how they get around in a legitimate fashion and without a successor, and that would suck. But it's got such a small memory footprint.
That is the issue with the Switch. I mean, right now, I will admit, I buy most of my games physical, so it alleviates that problem a lot. And I haven't gotten to the stage where I'm like, all right, I need to get a memory card because, you know, Super Mario's on the cartridge, Zelda's on the cartridge. Eventually, but, you know, LA Noire, for instance, I could buy that physical, but I still need to download a 13 gig patch. And I have 20 gigs that are free on my Switch, yeah?
That's huge.
So you know, that's definitely getting to the stage. And I think eventually I'm going to have to seriously consider buying a micro XDXC card. And I understand that. I completely understand that issue. I think what Nintendo's idea was, and whether you agree with it or not is up for debate, was we're going to go with this kind of formatted, this format of micro SDXC card, which is up to 2 terabytes. And hopefully over time, the prices of those memory cards will drop to the stage where 128 gigs is like a $20 card. Because right now, what is it, like $60 to $80, 128 gigs for that card in the States?
They'll encounter the same issue as the PS Vita if they don't do that, because the Vita, I wouldn't say what really killed it, but what definitely helped kill off initial consumers was they had, instead of taking a micro SD card and letting that be a memory card, for example, Sony insisted, like, no, we have our own line of memory cards.
Proprietary one.
Yeah, and they were fucking insanely overpriced. Like, I think it was like close to $40 for like 8 gigs or something like that. You know,
I remember that.
Insane. And people were like, I want this system. I like what I'm seeing initially, but these memory cards, which didn't come with the system, were insanely overpriced. So people didn't go with the system. So hopefully Nintendo learned from that failure.
I think the thing is that what the problem is when something's popular, you run into its fail state quicker. I mean, that's pretty normal. And so like the 360, the PS3, the PS4, and the Xbox One to a lesser extent have all had some issues with RAM or memory costing more than the company expected, and so drops in price didn't happen as quick. All these, and PS4, the GDDR, whatever it uses, like somebody was talking about, even that's raising in price. I haven't followed the prices on those currently, but the problem with the Switch is that as its popularity rises and the more we want the games everybody else has, the more like concessions you make. But the difference is that unlike maybe the Xbox One where you have 900p versus 1080p, there are literally no concessions at some point in your future, and without spending more money. And that disturbs me because you are betting on memory cards, which, as you just said, have never been static. Like, you have no clue what they're going to cost, and that's a little nerve-wracking.
Can I be honest? I think, and this is just my wild speculation, but I understand that you said, you know, we're leading towards discussion of a new Switch with bigger internal memory. What if, like, because I know that Nintendo's been working with SanDisk to release new micro SDXC cards, which are overpriced, mind you, I will say that. But what if in like 2 years, Nintendo's like, every new Switch that we sell, we've partnered with SanDisk, and you're going to get 128 gigs micro card with every Switch, and it's part of the price. And because they're producing them in such a big bulk and it's a big deal with SanDisk, the cost on their side relatively to like every console sold is not that much. I think that's a pretty good thing that could happen. I mean, it's not going to completely alleviate it, and some people might say I still need a bigger micro card, but it's something. It's like saying, right now the Switch has 32 gigs of memory, but now we're going to chuck a 128 gig micro card, which is 160 gigs. Now we're talking. And in 2 years, I think the prices of those micro cards will be at the stage where Nintendo could have a pretty good deal with the SanDisk that it's not too much on their side in terms of cost.
Have they? Does a hard drive work on the Switch yet? Can you plug a hard drive into the dock?
I don't think so, and that's another thing.
But
that completely here's the thing. That's not a solution.
But it is if you use a typical normal wireless streaming solution with sync. The thing is every other device I own that's wireless has a sync of every item on my PC. You can't tell me Nintendo can't write sync software that allows a person to just say, I want LA Noire on this system, I want this, and just sync the fucking thing. And I agree, but what you just said was a deal with another company about a hardware weakness we have. And so what happens is other companies, we saw this with Xbox when they made their original Xbox and NVIDIA screwed them over. I don't want What did we say? Logitech? Is that who you'd said?
SanDisk.
I can't remember. SanDisk. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like Logitech. I don't think they make them. I don't want a company screwing Nintendo over for prices later either. I don't want to pack in as much as I think Nintendo hopefully is working towards something right now. Like that would be my hope, and I don't believe they are because they haven't even figured out their own chat. and so
Bluetooth, wireless headphones as well, like simple things.
And yeah. So these things are what I hope. I hope maybe Nintendo, let's be honest, it's possible Nintendo themselves weren't 100% sure about how the Switch was going to do after the Wii U, right? And so maybe that's why we're not seeing some of the things that we all go, God damn, you've always been behind, but you're way behind now. I would love for them, this chat works on telephones. Well, there's other things that work, including syncing and so forth. Get your system set up so that a user can dock the system, transfer data, get rid of your 13 gigabyte fucking LA Noire patch, which is ridiculous, and start doing things like that to make sure that consumers are motivated in an easy way. I don't want it to be hard. I don't want me to go, I need to go here to transfer this. It's a fucking, it needs to be easy, right? It needs to just be like, dunk, and it works. And Nintendo isn't really known for that anymore, which scares me for new consumers. I mean, LA Noire, guys, just remember, ancient game needs a patch that big, then I can guarantee you.
You know what's weird to me? And I know we've been talking a lot, I'm sorry, but I don't understand the technicalities why that 13 gig patch can't be applied to the actual cartridge itself.
Well, because the cartridge has a memory allotment, right? And wouldn't this be over the memory allotment of the cartridge? 32?
I assume that they have this patch because they're working on shit, right up until release. Maybe that's part of the reason too. I don't know. Like they need to have this on different memory. Yeah.
It's absolutely, absolutely possible because they have to burn those versus digital where you're just like ta-da, it's downloaded. Depending on how many copies of a game they can make. But I can't assume LA Noire is going to sell a ton. So that's also then you have to business wise go why do they have to do it? So it's a odd.
You know why it's probably not going to sell a lot because it's kind of like it's a doom day for the Switch on that day or that week. So
it's like the 27th.
It's like the 27th of October. So that week, it's LA Noire. Hold up, sorry. I want to find all the releases. Wikipedia is fucking amazing.
Ain't it?
Okay. Yeah, so LA Noire on that day. Holy shit, there's a lot of games. Okay, I'll start. Batman Telltale, Ben 10, LA Noire, Lego Marvel, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Is 3 days after. So that week is just fucked.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot, man.
Yeah. Interesting. Hopefully we see something.
You saying Wikipedia also reminds me of when I was in college and they said we need donations or else we can't keep the site ad free, and I was like, you guys have helped me out so much, here's $10.
Yeah. I have no
Fucking
problem giving a little money to Wiki, even though they've been wrong, but
they've helped me out more times than they've hindered me.
Absolutely.
Next topic is a quick one. PUBG is on Xbox December 12th, getting a physical release too. How about that? The early access title that is still on the internet is now heading to its first console. I wonder how Fortnite's going to rebound. Because Fortnite's currently owning consoles. So what are they going to do to make sure that PUBG doesn't come in, at least on Xbox, and steal the show here?
Well, Fortnite's free, right? So that's they still have that.
They definitely have that edge. But I mean
I think that's the same reason.
It did a holiday patch. It was pretty cool. So
I was going to say, I think that's the same reason why Paladins is still doing okay via Overwatch.
Oh yeah, we saw those numbers. I think last week or 2 weeks ago because you were on the show, and that was like we were all just, what? It's this big?
All the players. How many players? All of them. Just everybody. Everybody's playing. I mean, I think it's a pretty big deal for people who have the X, and because I'm not quite sure how that's going to perform on the S. We'll see, or on the original. But I could see a ton of people playing it. They put a lot of work into it. And Microsoft, once again, just like Cuphead, has helped a lot. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Fortnite doesn't necessarily need to defend itself, but I don't know if they're in the same group right now. One is paid, one's not. Like you said, one's cartoonish, one's glitchy and buggy, but not cartoonish. So it's like, I think there'll be a different group going in. I don't necessarily. It seems like the dev or publishers really pissed some people off lately with the loot crates weirdness and all this stuff. There's been a lot of negative press towards PUBG. So I'm actually surprised we haven't heard anything from the devs prior to this, sort of aligning everything back to a positive, like a positive thought base from a lot of gamers, because they haven't. I mean, even like I can't remember his name, the weird looking dude with the fucking fake hair.
Dr. Disrespect.
Dr. Disrespect even was on a podcast a while ago and was like, yeah, you know, they're really not like meeting their user base as well as they used to, and like there's a lot of people who are disenfranchised. I'm surprised Microsoft and those guys haven't really worked on that, and it doesn't seem like they have. It seems like it's sort of, we're going to go on PUBG's name, which I'm not 100% sure is what you want to do when you have Wolfenstein or whatever, you know, even though it's a single player game. I mean, you have these other titles that are doing well, don't have loot crates, whatever. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I'm
it's
not
good.
in it.
How much is it? I never thought is it the same price?
I would assume did you say preview program?
No,
It'll be cheaper.
Physical.
Okay, that would probably be. I bet you that's going to be $49. I'll just take a guess that they will not sell that full price.
I don't think they have a price out yet or anything.
Really? That's interesting. It comes out in a month. I think they'd have a price tag on it. They must really be running off the name.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will cost $30 on Xbox One, the same price listed on Steam. That's from there.
So it should be like 60, 70 in Australia. That's all right.
Oh, jeez, dude. Double the price. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's currency conversion and a little increase. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Yeah. I think it's big news, but I don't necessarily think it's big as it would have been, like I said, if they didn't have all the negative press. Unfortunate.
Definitely, you know, for very big news, it didn't make the headlines all too much, which I thought was a little bit surprising because of how popular the game is. You think a lot of people be like, all right, we're getting it on consoles now, but everyone's just busy talking about the other negative shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what the actual name is for PUBG?
PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds?
No. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, the ultimate life and death fight. That's the actual name.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Ultimate life and death fight. It sounds so cliche. That's the funny part.
Yeah, but like it was pretty much a leaked classification in Australia that leaked that name.
That's funny as shit.
I think it arrives as part of the Xbox game preview program. That's why it's $30. It is a preview. So they'll still do a retail version. It'll just be a preview.
Okay. Imagine that.
Well, and I don't know if you guys saw, but a developer who's working with Xbox as well, they were testing out that 1,000 person shooter. Did you guys see the technology test for that? I think it's PC and Xbox.
1,000 person, dude?
Yeah, it was like there was new technology that these guys developed that allowed for that, I guess. And I saw some videos. There was a space one as well that was like TIE Fighter, but with 1,000 people playing it. And there's a YouTube video of it, and it's insane. I mean, it looks like a real Star Wars battle you would see in the movies. So I mean, if they can do that,
that type of stuff reminds me of Planet Side, and it reminds me of
what
was the other game? Mag. I never got a chance to play Mag.
Jeez. Yeah, that's old school, man. Yeah,
it was like PS3, and there was like 256 players, I think, and like apparently it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish I got a chance to play that one. That's one I missed out on. And since it's multiplayer only, there's no going back. Regardless, last bit of news to wrap up the show is going to be about PlayStation. They had their Paris Games Week show, and they had a lot of games to show. Literally E3 Part 2, same thing with no release dates, sadly, this time around. Just release window, so we got a lot of spring 2018, early 2018, and I think for most titles it's just 2018. So I'm just going to go down a list of games. We'll give our hot takes on each of them. Starting off with Monster Hunter World. And there was silence.
Monster Hunter World.
No one knows what Monster Hunter World is. Maybe.
I know what it is, but I mean, did you want? I didn't hear. Did you want our opinion of it?
Yeah. I mean, if you have one on it, or if you just don't give a shit about it, then that's fine too.
I definitely care, but it's not a big title for me. A lot of people.
Yeah, neither.
Yeah, I sit on that same side of the fence. The only reason I'm kind of curious about it is because it's 4-player online, which we don't get a lot of, and so I'm definitely looking forward to that aspect. A lot of people are saying it's good for beginners. So if you are looking to get into Monster Hunter, a lot of articles I have been seeing pop out is like if you're new to the series, this is where you start. So that's very good. It's also looking huge, so it's definitely something to keep your eye on. Then how about something I think we can have an opinion on? God of War.
That's looking real nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely shaping up.
I fucking need to get a PS4 for God's sake.
Yeah, dude. I mean, these exclusives look fucking ridiculous. But Karak and I were on the side of the fence. We were like, I don't really like what I saw with God of War. So has that changed for you?
Why is that?
I thought it looked very clunky, and it reminded me a lot of For Honor. And I was just like, ugh. The combat just turned me off. But I'm curious if Karak feels how I felt after I saw it, where I was like, I kind of like what I'm seeing here now. I think it looks a lot more cleaned up. No,
I'm not at all interested in that title right now, the way it looks. But that doesn't mean like Hellblade was the same way. I was like, Hellblade doesn't really look that enticing. What I saw actually looked pretty terrible, just from a gameplay standpoint, not a look standpoint. The problem is it's so easy to get graphically enticed by something. Whoa! And it's God of War. So once again, like sell you nostalgia. But the first person, I apologize. The weird camera, I don't even know what you would call that. I just haven't seen anything that makes me go, okay, this is going to work. But Hellblade didn't show me anything that this was going to work until far closer to its release. So I have no problem saying it's not grabbing me right now. That means nothing. In a month, they could say, people like Karak, here's a battle video or whatever, and go, okay, that works perfect.
Yeah, see, what I saw, or what I'm seeing and I'm hoping it evolves into is I still think one of the best action games I've played is DMC Devil May Cry by Capcom. And I saw a lot of mixing and matching with abilities and powers in that game that I loved. And I haven't had a game quite like that since. What I saw in this new gameplay demo with a lot of the mixing of his abilities, like he had a shield on his arm, he did instead of blocking attack like he did in a previous demo, he bashed someone's head off with it.
Yeah.
And then he used his axe to hit multiple enemies, but then he also looked up and threw it and cut off some type of explosive pot that for some reason was hanging from the ceiling. I don't know why. Who said, I'm going to fucking hang this thing that blows up here. But regardless, he used it, cut it down. So I was seeing a lot of versatility in the equipment he had. And like I said, the camera, they ever so slightly pulled it back.
They did pull it back, didn't they?
And I was seeing him, the way the enemies were reacting to each shot was a bit smoother. It looks like the time has definitely benefited this game. But it was the only game out of everything we're going to talk about in this segment that had an early 2018. But yet, funny enough, I'd say around E3, it looked the most unfinished.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's quite interesting that they might put this one out the door regardless. I don't know when Monster Hunter World actually comes out. Would someone be able to check that just for the sake of the conversation? While we move on to the next one, which is Spider-Man. Spider-Man PS4 got a brand new trailer, and it looks good. Of course, I'm biased there, but
you were fucking Spider-Man for Halloween, man.
Hell yeah. You like that costume.
Yeah, no, it was really, really good.
Was amazing.
I'll quickly say January 26, 2018.
Wow, that's soon. Okay. That's very soon. So Monster Hunter World, I apologize, is coming out first, not God of War. Okay. Spider-Man, though. Now, what we saw in this was more story than actual gameplay like we saw at E3. We saw you could play as Mary Jane. We saw the Peter Parker side of things, him interacting with Negative instead of fighting him, which we did see in a couple of segments. We saw the Shocker. We saw Kingpin getting arrested. So we saw, like I said, a lot more story here. What are you guys feeling about this game? Because I remember, Karak, you and I, we collided on this one.
Well, that's just because I think we both like one or two of the Spider-Man games. but we hate the same one. I remember, like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Didn't we both hate that?
Oh God,
Okay.
man. If you like that game, man, let's fight.
I think the videos. What my biggest issue was that it didn't look real, and as in it didn't look like gameplay footage, and that's been proven because this last video definitely. Yeah, this last video definitely had to step down graphically, especially with people. They did not look anywhere near what like the old videos would have you believe everything in the world would look, which is fine. They should. I just wish they had led with that, not had a. This is probably what it'll look like. I hate that shit. This is probably no, it won't. It'll never look as good as they say it'll probably. Right. So what they showed looked pretty good. I think when it comes to Spider-Man, my biggest issue is I've never felt the web slinging really. It's worked close to fine, I guess, would be the best kudo. And so I'm nervous that the major thing, it's like flying in a Spider-Man or in a Superman game. If it doesn't work, or gadgets in a Batman game, not badgets. If they don't work, then it's not Batman, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm nervous about, and Insomniac does it right. It's actually why I was asking you so many questions about the other game that they did. That you wanted a sequel of, Sunset Overdrive. Yeah, because movement is important to me. Does it like feel and look right? And I would say that I didn't see a lot of that in this one because it was more about story. But I did see graphics that look like they can be performed on a normal PS4, which was nice to see that and just go, okay, this is sort of what it's. I'm really getting burned out on CGI. I'm getting burned out. Well, I've been burned out on CGI, but I'm really getting burned out on this is what it'll look like. Because it hasn't for a long time. Just, Yeah.
Lone, do you have a chance to check out these trailers?
I have, but even if I had a PS4, I've never been super sold on superhero games. It's just, that makes sense.
I could. Your opinion doesn't matter. That's what you're telling me.
I'm silly. Yeah, no, I could comfortably miss a Batman or a Spider-Man.
Whoa! Let's not go. One wears pajamas, the other one is just awesome.
Okay. Well, no, the recent ones apparently haven't been that great, but right?
For what? For what?
For Batman?
Here's the thing that people I can't stand when people shit on Arkham Knight because I'm like Arkham at its worst was better than like almost so many games that came out in 2015.
Okay, no, I was just asking because I haven't.
But I see what you mean.
No, absolutely, it was worse in the series. But
yeah. No, I don't know. That's how I've always felt all the time about superhero games. I don't know what it is, but I'm comfortable missing them. It's just.
Do you watch the movies?
Oh, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. I'm finally getting a chance to watch Thor this weekend. Black Panther. Oh, that's awesome.
That's funny though. Most people who are like into the movies like have to get the games, and for me, I'm actually now you mentioned I'm kind of the opposite. I'm really not up to date on. We've said this multiple times. I'm not really up to date on the movies. I tend to read the comics, but I go for the fucking games like that.
Did you watch Wonder Woman?
Nope.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So good.
I haven't seen Wonder Woman. Haven't seen Captain America: Civil War. I haven't seen. What else is there? This
is where. One of these days we just need to do a podcast about this because none of us have agreed. Because I don't agree with either one of you.
Guardians.
So that's what's cool, or not. Don't agree, but I've seen something Maddie hasn't seen or whatever. But like I didn't like Wonder Woman, and so it's interesting to see like all of us. I would love to sit down and be like, okay, let's nerd out.
I have a movie podcast. Damn, how do you not watch?
Just give me like a couple of days to just watch everything, and then I'll come in with a nice opinion.
When Maddie told me he didn't watch Guardians, I was blown away.
Oh yeah, wow. Maddie, Guardians is literally, I think, one of the greatest Marvel. Original.
That's the thing. I hear these great things. I think I have Guardians on Blu-ray, just sitting there in a package.
That's
seal.
what you told me in Discord.
Yeah.
Thor's better.
Okay, that's great.
Than Guardians. I mean,
the reason why
surprised me.
I know we're deviating because we always do. The reason why I really like Guardians, I was a big fan of Dave Bautista as a wrestler growing up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's like, because him leaving the company, he was treated like shit. He was told he would never get successful in the movies. He wanted to do like this tie-in with WWE before the release of Guardians, and they said no, even though they say yes to The Rock, because they were like, we don't know if this is going to be successful. And he's just become a megastar in James Bond. He was in Blade Runner 2. He's fucking kicking ass, man. And I'm so happy for him.
It's always a good victory story.
and he's just really good.
Really good.
I like The
really
Rock,
good,
but The Rock isn't very good.
Dude,
I like The Rock. The Rock is The Rock as The Rock.
The Rock is just a great
He's The Rock as The Rock. Yeah. And Batista's fucking in Guardians is legitimately laugh out loud funny. And I'm
he's
not
the funniest character.
I mean I don't slap my knee or just like in a theater. It's usually I'm pretty like yes, it's funny, but that was I was just like, what the fuck, man?
Like, some of the shit that he says is like
he's so dry.
My reflexes are too fast. I will catch it.
Dude, yeah, when you guys that joke went over your head, and he's like, my reflexes are too fast. I would catch it, and you're like, oh my god, he doesn't. But his delivery of the dryness and not understanding any like not understanding imagery.
I can see
when
it.
the guy when he goes like, and then you do this, and he's like, why would I draw my thumb across my throat? And he's like, no, this means kill. That entire discussion, you're just like, oh my god, this is delicious. I'm so and then Maddie told us, in Discord, he's like, I have the Blu-ray, I just haven't watched it. I'm like, what the fuck? You have watched it?
A whopping 2 hours out of my day would be gone if I fucking sat down and watched it. Like that matters, you know?
Yeah, that's funny.
Next on the list is Ghost of Tsushima. This is the brand new IP from Sucker Punch, open world, feudal Japan.
I've never even heard of it.
What? Wow.
I didn't even.
Does that idea sound cool to you?
This was in the Sony event?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first it was the first trailer they actually showed of the entire thing.
I did come in late. So
there you go.
Look, I always love feudal Japanese and just generally Japanese influences. You know, especially the like one of my favorite movies of all time is The Last Samurai. I love that shit. So I could see me playing this game and loving it. Like I really liked For Honor's Samurai. I thought that was just fucking awesome. So like it could, if I had a PS4, this could be a game that I'd play. But
what's it called, guys?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Sushi.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a T in the beginning, a silent T. Tsushima. Tsushima.
Okay, thanks. I'll history. Well, that's crazy. I'm glad you guys told me because Neo, even though that was a little out there, I like those kind of games.
Huh. Oh yeah, I mean open world too. When I heard that, I thought to myself, holy crap! I don't think we've ever quite seen feudal Japan open world before, and Sucker Punch is very good at building a world. I was really hoping that like we'd get an Infamous collection alongside this, just something, because I thought Second Son was so disappointing. I really did not like that game, and I remember being tremendously excited for it, and that's why that is why I am actually nervous about Ghost of Tsushima. But on the other hand, I see that with Second Son, I felt like it really was in many ways a tech demo. Look how pretty this is. Look what the PS4 can do. This is the first real big game we're making for the PS4. I felt like it was just a kind of a show-off product, but I'm hoping with Ghost of Tsushima, it's like one that they're like actually behind. They're really invested in it. Because I miss like the infamous 1, 2, and Sly Cooper Sucker Punch, and since they release games so split up, I wonder when this game's even coming out, because it was a CGI trailer. So.
It was. It's actually. I wasn't. That's why I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to rain on anybody's parade. But yeah, that was
there's nothing really
early
to get hyped about.
Trailer.
It's just a cool premise at the moment.
For sure. And they sporadically, I think is the word you were looking for like how they release their stuff.
Yes,
is that what you were?
That is. Yep. Thank you.
What do we think then? 2019, right?
That's my guess.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
And I mean, they released Second Son in 2014, I think.
Oh shit, you're right. If they haven't done, that's true. Yeah, it's been maybe. Oh, dude, wouldn't it be awesome, Maddie, if they were like, we just haven't told anybody. It's Christmas.
It just like, oh god,
I'd
lose my shit. I'm waiting for a company to do that and just be like, oh yeah, and it's coming out next month, and you're like, what? So
yeah,
I
cannot wait.
Last game on the list, and one that I really think Lone would love, is Detroit Become Human.
Wait, was this last? Where's Last of Us?
Oh fuck, I didn't write that down.
I was gonna say, because I was waiting for the
why don't you host the fucking show, you know?
I fucking will. Maybe I will.
Yeah,
no, but
maybe
dude,
it'll just vastly improve and more people will come in.
Well, we'll talk about Last of Us after this. I know that this trailer had a bit of controversy because of the topics that it dealt with. I think the premise of the game is really compelling and interesting. It kind of it hooks into, I think most gamers need or just desire, whenever they play a game, typically you want to go for the option where you save everyone, and that happens in small pockets. Like it could be like a side quest where you don't know what option you need to take to save someone, so you'll reload your save and do that. I think this game just times that by 1,000 because it's literally the premise, and I could imagine playing this particular quest or what mission or whatever it is where you want to just kick this guy's ass and save the little girl.
Yeah.
And you know, you could, and I bet you the game's going to take you down some paths where you think that's what you're going to get the result. You're going to get that result, sorry. And then it just throws you a curveball and say, no, because you did this, the guy's going to get pissed off and break this door and then kill or whatever. So it was intriguing to me, but I guess, you know, I get why people were a bit disturbed by that trailer.
Oh, yeah, it was heavy.
It was fucking heavy.
But
like he killed the child in the trailer. Like
yeah.
That,
it
fucked.
was really heavy. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, you can like if they're going to do that, you can really feel like you fucked up in this game. You know,
yeah.
At least that's the vibe I got from it. You know,
the trailer was not just child abuse; it was literally child murder.
Yeah, which games usually can't do. I think. You know,
look at Fable. Fable had child murder until a tester killed 100 kids and piled them together, and Peter Molyneux was like, "No, never again," and he removed child murder from it. So I haven't seen. The thing is, David Cage. I even asked this in your Discord. I was like, I'm a fan of Omicron, huge fan of the old PC title, Dreamcast title Omicron, but his stuff never pans out for me. So none of his games have, and so that's the only thing. It always seems like they will, and then I play them. Fahrenheit was okay, and it started strong, and then fell the fuck apart.
Yeah.
And so that's like, what was the other one with the fucking origami killer? Heavy Rain. Oh. Didn't work for me at all.
Really?
Like that, I fell asleep multiple times. That one. It's just because, but you understand it was slow, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree? Like,
yeah.
So I think that David's idea of how to deliver a story just doesn't. It's a little bit more niche, just in case people bitch, than even other story creators, and so it just doesn't work so well for me. And child murder, whatever. I mean, depends on if it matters, right? Like,
and like domestic violence, like, you know, it was just one of those things where even for me, it was a bit confronting. It was just like, oh shit, okay.
Well,
like, and it was literally, I think it was Spider-Man trailer, Detroit. I think it was like that. It was some sort of order like that.
They definitely hit the 180. I guess maybe that's why it actually felt more heavy. But the other thing I felt from it, I was like, you know, they're really going all out with this story, where a lot of people complained about, and I enjoyed this game a lot, was Beyond Two Souls. It's the game they made after Heavy Rain. I really fucking liked that game. And a lot of people were pretty upset with how the story ended up. I was I was pretty satisfied with it, but I think they're going all out. And what I took away from the trailer too was, I felt like that section right there could have been its own story. It really could have been, with the way they showed all these options, how they could have played out, and how heavy and impactful it's going to be, you know, emotionally for a lot of people. I mean, it really seemed like it could have been its own game right there. But it's a much bigger picture that I'm kind of unsure what that bigger picture is, because I've seen in other demos they had the like a cop investigating some murders and whatnot. So I'm wondering what's happening there. And everyone's got like that like android sort of thing on the side of their head, which I don't know much about, but apparently you can wipe their memory. So I'd imagine that it'd have to do with some type of choice. It's going to be a very interesting game. I'm very intrigued by this one, personally. Out of everything we saw there, Spider-Man aside, this is one I was like, wow.
Did anybody but me play Omicron?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so Omicron was a game based in a giant futuristic world like Blade Runner, where you could jump between people's bodies. and David Bowie did the music. That's why it became popular, because David Bowie did the entire soundtrack, and it was one of the first ones to have like voiced soundtrack while you were in your apartment, and you could jump to different people. It was a pretty open world for back in its day. Well, it was massively open world for back in its day. What you just said about the androids is definitely, I mean, it feels like that is a spiritual successor to Omicron then, which now I'm interested, because Omicron allowed you to, well, you couldn't delete people, but it did have a lot of mental stuff where you like jumping and like, you know, doing those kind of things and changing experiences. So that makes me more interested. I'll have to keep a closer eye on it.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how they execute that. Like, is it like a bunch of short stories in a game that you access from a menu, or is it like is it like a hub world where you get to experience these different androids? Like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Because it's like they seem so separate. Like, one's a maid who had her memory wiped and she just came back to the house, and you got this abusive father. And then on the other hand, you got a cop investigating a series of murders. It's like, how do these two...
How do they tie together?
Yeah. And I'm sure there's more to it. I think there was another one which was... Oh, I remember they were like out in the snow and stuff. So, and it looked like, I think, a different series of characters. So
yeah,
you got to wonder how they're all tied together. But still, it looks very interesting.
Yeah, that sounds actually more interesting to me, for sure.
Last game is The Last of Us 2. I made a whole video on this game, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this one.
Go ahead, Lon.
I thought the trailer was fantastic. It was brutal. It I think it. I know some people said that, you know, it was really violent, and they're trying to sell this game on violence. Sorry, but that kind of grittiness, I think it encapsulates what the game is trying to be, and it's trying to be dark. It's trying to be like the shit that happened in that trailer. Fuck. Like, I was looking at it and my face was just like in awe the whole time.
Like the
way
where he's like clip her wings and he starts like fucking hammering her elbow.
I don't know what it was. It was the part where they showed her belly, and the way the knife touched the skin, and it kind of just, it didn't pierce it, but it felt so real. You know what I mean? Like the way the skin just indented. And it was raining, I think, so it was a little... I can't explain. It looked real to me. That one bit where the knife, when it gets the stomach, it was fucked. And the clip of wings bit, that was insane.
God. Clip the wings part, like, I winced at it. I was like, dude, like, I have bony fucking elbows, so, like, there. Oh, God.
And you know, and it happened... it wasn't like clip of wings and then arrow killed the guy. She had one of her arms fucked up, and then that's when she was saved.
Yeah, I was like, damn, she really, like, it wasn't like he's about to hit her, he's like an inch away, and then it can be an arrow. It's like, nope, we're finishing the job. It's not 1, 2, 3, but 4.
And just the way, like, you know, and then, you know, she's hanging up there, and then grabs the guy by the neck or whatever, and then she gets up with a busted arm, and the way she's, like, is about to swing the hammer into the girl's face, or to the guy's face, I think. You think she's gonna, like, hit her friend, and then just manages to hit her face, and then she's still hanging there, and it's like they go a solid 20 seconds before she's like, cut her down. Like, she's been fucking choking.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole time.
Like, this kid just gets out and he just looks up at her. He's like,
he's like, are you okay? And then she's like, 20 seconds later, cut her down. I'm like, holy fuck, save her. She's dying. God,
I thought they were just gonna leave her there. I was like, jeez.
I know. That was brutal. Brutal.
What about you, Karak?
So, okay. I want to make sure nobody gets mad when I say this. I don't follow the original very much. I didn't. Yeah. I've tried to. I think I've said that. I've tried to play it a few times. It just never really grabbed me. I did not see the starting blurb. What the game was. I didn't. I was like doing other things, and I saw this cutscene start, and I started watching. And I made the mistake, I guess, today, in today's world, I assumed that was a dude.
Okay.
Now, there's a reason why. No one's shoulders look like that if they're not on heavy testosterone. No one's. And she gets up and is ripped to the point of being...
Fuck.
It's beyond ripped. Bro. It's like Bruce Lee prior to filming would dehydrate on purpose ripped. And so I go, who's the dude? And man, your guys' discords were like, what the and I'm all, dude, what's happening? Like, I have no clue what's going on. And I got in an argument on my Discord. I'm like, no, it's a dude. What the fuck are we talking about? And I get it, why people were mad at me, because I guess I was looking at like I mean, dude, they're like, her fucking shoulders are like here. But then that causes my actual issue with the game is that it doesn't feel like they carried the models very well forward, because is that not her?
I don't want to hear this because apparently that's a spoiler. Is it, Maddie?
There is no spoiler. It
wasn't her, right?
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't her. Yeah.
That makes me feel a lot better, because here's the problem. So I saw this and I'm like, wait, what are you fucking people telling me? And then they were like, no, it is. And then someone later in my Discord said, wait, what are you guys talking about? It's not. You have to have watched the other thing. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, that's not how it normally works. Like, all of us don't follow every single thing. We just know about these main characters. So I was upset that, you know how it is, like a PS2 game to a PS3 game, and the characters look all fucking completely different. You're like, what's happening? So I was totally confused by the entire trailer. So I've watched it like 3 times, and I think what happened was it removed any emotional. I was looking at the technical stuff because I was like so confused by what I was seeing and who I thought it was supposed to be. So I didn't feel anything other than there was a person being choked out and there was the, clipper wings. I thought those were cool animations, but I didn't get the emotional connection that everybody else did. And it's a little bit like the prior title we talked about. For Fahrenheit, that guy, David, where his stuff aims to a certain thing. I think it looks cool now that I've looked at it, but unfortunately I was dissecting a different part than otherwhere, and that's totally my fault. I just didn't jump in. So I don't know what to say other than it looked, I don't want to say cool because people think I'm a sadomasochist, because I don't know if you would say cool with that trailer is, I guess, where my big deal is. So I would say it
intriguing.
Looked intriguing. Yeah.
I'd
but
say intense.
Here's the thing.
I said brutal.
Here's the thing. I get why people are saying it felt like it was just purposely just showing violence, because that was way worse than any Gears of War trailer. It was way worse than any Gears. I think that might have been the most, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, what the fuck trailer?
It wasn't just like violence for entertainment, like you're shooting zombies. It was torture.
Yeah, and so I see why some people were like, whoa, what's happening? Like, but I guess the original game, not I guess, I did see some cutscenes from that because I've watched the movie for it. It's pretty fucking horrid.
Dude, there's one scene that ends Act 1 that, like, I will never forget my reaction. I was, like, in my room.
Are you talking about
Last of Us 1? Last of Us 1. Act 1.
Very
and so basically, long story short, someone shoots themselves. But the way they do it, the way it's it's entirely choreographed, it just fucking happens. And you're just like, holy... I remember standing up going, like I usually don't get that physically animated when I'm playing a game because I'm just too busy fucking watching the screen. But I actually was like, holy fuck! Like that just
sounds like Lone had
so
the same
fast.
reaction to the knife in this one, which is cool. I mean, I think that shows they understand animation and how to tell a story via animation insanely well.
And you know what? It's not really an issue, but it's just a thing. I mean, it's hard to show context in a 2-minute trailer. If it's just a 2-minute trailer of the most, it's not gruesome, but one of the most deep, torturous bits about the game. There's no lead up to it. There's no background. It's just blah. In a
it just
press
drops
conference.
it on you, and it kind of gives you a feeling at the end. It's like these characters look like they're playable, but yet they're about to be attacked by clickers, which fucking murder anyone in their sight. It's like, how are they going to get out of that?
And there was a lot of confusion, guys, because it did look the way they're dressed. There was people who are big fans who were confused about who. Like, were these people we know? What's happening? Like, and so, I mean, I saw people go, old Ellie or whatever. Like, is this old Ellie? And I was like, oh, okay, I can see what. So I think it didn't tell a story very well, if that makes sense. A lot of trailers tell a tiny bit of story. And I think this one was just like starting, somebody's choking, ending, we're done,
They're
and
like,
you're all
we made
dying.
this cool cutscene. Here it is.
It was literally his one cutscene, and not just a compilation of things that actually describe the game in any meaningful way.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And for me, because I jumped in late, it was even worse. I was about 5 seconds after they even showed any. I didn't know it was. I don't know if they did a blurb and said The Last of Us or anything, but I was like, "What is this game?" Because I didn't even know that.
They started it because I didn't know immediately it was The Last of Us because I thought it was Days Gone at first because it's raining, everything looks fucked, and they got like these hoods on and they're just walking like a cult, dragging this woman who I'd never seen before, and I'm like, "What's happening?" But as like the trailer progressed, the way things like they put her on the can and she just barely gets her toes on it. I'm like, this has a Naughty Dog sense of like tension to it.
Do you know what the thing is? Like, if that Detroit trailer, if it would have been that one scene where the father goes up and kills his child, like that would have been like what Last of Us 2 did. Because it was one scene with no context. But the Detroit trailer, it was like, here's a bunch of different scenes, bunch of different options. It's describing how the game operates. Literally, The Last of Us 2 was just a cutscene. And I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. It was just a thing. And that's why I think some people were a bit, when it came to the violence, because it was no context. At least with the Detroit trailer, it showed the context. It showed the opening scene. You are an android. This is what you need to do. And then it kind of showed you, as you made different choices, you found those pictures and it progressed to somewhere. This Last of Us 2 trailer was just one cutscene we thought was really cool, as Maddie said.
Do you guys think, I mean, I wonder if internally they consider this at least, people are talking. That's one thing, but sometimes talk can be bad. I wonder if internally they're like, okay, that was a miss for us. Like we should be, because they're pretty good at not to be rude. You can't expect a company that always does a really good job telling stories suddenly not telling a story and not have some feedback.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. Like I saw it on, a couple different websites. People were like, I'm a little confused. And it wasn't a confusion like, oh, we think they've lost their fucking balls and they're going to have a terrible game. It was more like, why was this cutscene of all the cutscenes? There was nothing that occurred here that makes me go, this is the middle, beginning, ending, starting, prologue. There was nothing to brace yourself, like Lone said, no context. And I think that I'd be interested to know if internally they're like, okay, you know what? And is that also, guys, a sign of them not having a particular writer with them who directs particular things?
I mean, I
because
look at it
I've
like,
been wondering if like Amy controlled stuff
when
like
we
that.
first saw The Last of Us 1, first ever reveal of it, was like gameplay. They were walking around. You got the feel, okay, it's post-apocalyptic. You didn't know shit about Jolie or Elle. And then all of a sudden they go into this building, like, Joel gets ambushed, hit from behind. He fucking kicks the shit out of someone. Ellie hits someone with a brick. He blows someone's head off. Like, it was always violent, is what I'm saying. Not that I'm excusing it if someone was upset by it.
No, but you described something, Maddie. It was moving.
Yeah.
The difference is there's no movement. It's a static position. And you talk to directors, they'll tell the same thing. Area. Exactly. And there was no moving. There was no, these two are here. It was a big group of people with random shit happening. You're like, what the fuck is happening to all, who's on, which might be exactly what they were planning for.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
No, they're being very intentional. Like that scene, the person was being very methodical. It was again, it was torture, right? Like she was trying to hang someone and then clip that person's wings. I mean, it was very intentional what they were doing, and I think it was just to get a reaction. And whether you agree with that or not, again, it has got people talking.
I know. I know the first game had this faction called the Fireflies, which was like the main group you're trying to bring Ellie to in the first one, and so I'm wondering if this cult that seems new is saying clip their wings like they're fireflies, clip the wings. It's like a method of torture for those specific people in that faction. Maybe
it's a strange reference, isn't it? A strange phrase. Like some people would just say, smash her arms with a hammer.
Yeah, break them
clip
off.
Her wings, like that's I think you got something there.
So
that's true. Yeah,
it's just my guess. But that'll do it for all we have for this week's show. Just above 2 hours, 12 minutes now. Good
This
stuff.
has been crazy because we've all had hugely divergent thoughts on a ton of stuff.
Everything, yeah.
I think it's the first time where we've had, like, whether it be Marvel or Guardians or whatever, but it's like we've all had completely, like,
can't believe he hasn't watched
even
Guardians.
experiences.
Just one day I'm going to come on and be like, by the way, guys, I watched Guardians finally.
It was awesome.
You'll be like, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You won't. You'll be like, what? Well, who knows?
It's all right.
It's not a requirement.
It wasn't my cup of tea.
All right. Well,
or you'll be like me and miss half of it, and then be like, "What the fuck? This doesn't make sense."
That'll do it for episode 131. Lone Karak, thank you for helping me out and doing this awesome show we do every week. And,
Always a blast.
The hashtag of the week.
There we go.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure. So if you listen this deep and you want to share with us on Twitter that you made it this far, then hashtag Guardians of the Galaxy to @JeremyPenter, @G27Status, and @LoneVaultWanderer. And we will catch you guys in next week's episode. Peace out.
Peace out.